From the studio that owns awesome heroes like Batman and Superman comes a film about the worst heroes ever. And that's from their actual trailer. Way to go, guys. You honest trailered yourself. Suicide Squad. After the mixed reception to their last movie, Warner Brothers probably regrets spending just 6 weeks on the script for this one. Now, they have 4 short months to reshuffle their executives, juggle 7 different cuts, reshoot the third act, deliver on all the Joker stuff they already put in the trailers, and manage a director who takes shots at their biggest competition.
Marvel!
It's like there's some kind of, what's the word?
What, we some kind of Suicide Squad?
Man, this thing is writing itself.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Rollin' 20s. We are the show that tried a new brand of catnip and Selena Kyle hasn't gotten off our porch for 4 days. I am Jeremy.
Steve. And Jesse.
Remember, you can subscribe to this show and several others in the MSP library, missionstarpodcast.com. You can like us on Facebook, subscribe to us on iTunes, Stitcher, and on Tumblr. Follow us on Twitter at the Rolling 20s. You can send us any fan mail, suggestions for the show, or hate mail at mspfreight@yahoo.com. The music you heard at the beginning of the show is by Machina Supremacy. You can find more of their discography for free download at machinasupremacy.com, as well as their latest couple of albums on amazon.com. The clip you heard was by Screen Junkies. It is their new it's their new honest trailer for the Suicide Squad film. You can find more of their videos on youtube.com under their channel of Screen Junkies. We are now a week removed from probably the biggest job we have all year, only because we are nose deep when it comes to Great American Comic-Con. I'm proud to report that the primary edits are done on nearly all of the panels we did, and those will probably be going up over the next week. There might be a couple that are held out until our Christmas and New Year's break, simply because there's going to be 2 solid weekends where we're dealing with family, holidays, and things that go ho, ho, ho in the night. So we may be a little busier than we intended. How have you guys been?
I've been sneezing my head off for some reason.
Has Jesse been reattaching it?
No, I'm in charge of that as well.
Oh. Well, thank you, Mr. Wade Wilson. I didn't know you were on this show. But, no, I mean, is it just allergies or what?
Yeah.
What are you allergic to that's in your house?
I'm beginning to assume it's the cats.
Wouldn't that be ironic after all this time?
Yeah.
We finally hit peak density on dandruff. How about you, Jesse? What's going on?
Oh, just trying not to tear my hair as I talk to my mom about plans to visit my brother.
Okay. She's not hoping you'll marry him, is she? No, she wouldn't do that.
No.
We've had that conversation.
You know, I love my mother, but she has a tendency to nag a lot.
Okay.
As most mothers do.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just, I'm sitting here working on plans for my family and friends' New Year's trip to Disneyland, which have pretty well solidified. And it's nice to know that I'm going to see that many people coming. Although, when people ask me, so what are you doing for New Year's? I rented a 3-room suite at Disneyland. Their eyes just kind of widen like, what money bags have you been hiding, dickhead? You know, I don't bother to explain, yes, we're all sharing the cost. No, this is not all mine, you know.
Yeah.
People are doing their own thing. Because one, yes, I kind of enjoy it when they get a little bit shocked and have to ask a lot of questions. But two, none your business. So, it is a thing, and I'm sort of looking forward to Christmas. Unfortunately, friends and family will be unavailable to me during the holiday. So I plan on going to the movie theater and seeing a double feature. You know, probably Moana and Rogue One.
Ah, okay.
You know, I mean, theaters should not have too much traffic that day. And because there's a lot of Jewish people out there who don't celebrate Christmas, movie theaters decide that they're the businesses that should stay open for some reason. Don't ask me why. I don't quite understand it myself.
Yeah. Well, I know that we went to see the Star Wars movie last Christmas, and damn, that thing was packed.
Was it?
Oh, yeah.
In fact, we're going to try and do Rogue One this year, and we're planning on leaving early because we don't want to sit in the front row and crane our necks like we did last year.
There's also the idea of buy your tickets. Buy them online.
Yeah, no, we had already done that, but we showed up,
your
probably
theater doesn't,
too late.
Your theater doesn't have assigned seating like my neighborhood theaters do, then?
No. This is up in San Jose.
I see. Okay. Well, the subject of this week is Doctor Strange, the film that came out early November. It has been long enough where people cannot yell spoilers every 5 minutes, so we figure we'll have a conversation. We'll get to that after we get through our news of the week. And first off, we have a ton of Marvel media news. That's where we talk about Marvel properties that are ending up on all sorts of monitors, screens, and pages besides the comic book page. There is no escaping that, obviously, one of the biggest Marvel media stories that happened all week was the release of the trailer for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it while we were out. I don't think it's any secret. We should see it again for the sake of the show.
Sure.
And it involves short Groots, angry raccoons, and sexual frustration. Wouldn't you say that's the trifecta of what's in there, primarily?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and get that video up so people can get a flavor as to what to expect. I sent the video. That's a big-ass monster.
The fate of the universe lies on your shoulders.
I was wondering why it was screaming in psychedelic.
Now, whatever you do,
Drax flying in its mouth.
Don't push this button.
Oh, God.
That's a big red button.
We'll all be dead. Now repeat back what I just said.
I am Groot.
No! No, that's the button that will kill everyone. Try again.
I am Groot.
Mm-hmm.
I am Groot.
Uh-huh.
I'm Groot.
You can only
can't explain things to some people.
Imagine the conversation like.
Yeah. I wonder how bad the Ravagers are going to have it in this one if Yondu is on the outs with them.
Might be a sign of... I really love the music.
Yeah, good choices all around. This is probably the kind of feel that Suicide Squad was going for in its release.
Yeah.
Oh, jeez.
Took themselves way too seriously.
I want to put some tape over the death button. Nobody has any tape. Not a single person has tape. You have an atomic bomb in your bag. If anybody's going to have tape, it's you. I have to do it.
And there goes Groot with a Destructo.
Oh, everyone's screwed.
That's a really bad sign.
Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, and here is Mantis.
Touch someone, I can feel their feelings. You feel love.
Yeah, I guess, I feel a general unselfish love for just about everybody.
No, sexual love.
No?
Uh-uh.
No.
For her.
No.
Gamora.
Oh, and then Drax.
Your deepest, darkest secret?
Dude, come on. I think you're overreacting a little bit.
You must be so embarrassed. Do me.
I didn't think it was possible, but that looks like it may actually be more fun than the first.
Oh, man. As scary as Drax is,
He is scary. The guy that plays him is moving up a belt level in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He's taking his test this week.
But to listen to the character talk, it's so... so priceless.
That's going to be the big May release for Marvel and Disney next year, and I imagine that's probably going to be one of the bigger films of the year, based off the hype that the third one is built. I'm sure there'll be some trepidation because sequels rarely ever live up to the originals, but Disney has built a hell of a reputation when it comes to these films. In a little bit more Guardians of the Galaxy news, there has been a little bit of confusion. You'll understand when I say it in a minute. Marvel is putting out some 6-inch figure lines that they call the Legend series via Hasbro, right?
Yeah.
Some of the later lines have been based on the Edge of Spider-Verse and Spider-Man's various incarnations, the X-Men, and a lot of their 90s incarnations, and most recently Doctor Strange, both movie and comic book related. It was announced this week that the latest line will be a line of Guardians of the Galaxy figures. That's not unusual.
Didn't they already do that?
Well, they've done it prior for... they did a movie release, but they didn't do it as an actual part of the Legends line.
Okay.
So here's where it gets weird. The Legends line, so far as we know it, it includes a Build-A-Figure that appears to be the white feline Nova Corpsman that betrayed Sam Alexander in the comic books. I'm not surprised if you don't know it.
Oh, that guy.
Yeah. But so far, the first announcements for this line are Angela, Drax the Destroyer, Sam Alexander, Nova, he's in this line.
All right.
Star-Lord, Vance Astro.
Who's that?
The original Guardians of the Galaxy member in the blue and white suit was carrying Captain America's shield. This is from the 80s comics. Yes.
All right.
Yondu the Archer, the Michael Rooker version with alternate heads for different size mohawks. And Darkhawk.
Darkhawk. Really?
Darkhawk. The Marvel Comics character that almost embodied the 90s for a series period of time. It turns out his armor is Shi'ar-derived. Darkhawk is in the line for the Guardians of the Galaxy, which is making a lot of people scratch their heads. To my knowledge, he's never been a Guardian. Even though his armor is good in space, I don't know that he's had a lot of interaction with the Guardians in any format.
Yeah.
So this is causing a lot of confusion. Is there something coming in the comics nobody knows about? Will there be a surprise cameo in the film that nobody was expecting? I doubt it's the latter, just because the character is very, again, Shi'ar related, which is tied up in the X-Men license, which is tied up at Fox. So, I don't have a good explanation for this.
Might be something happening down in the comics in the future.
Maybe. I'm going to keep an eye out for it. There was another major trailer released by Marvel this week, just this past Wednesday on Jimmy Kimmel Live, and then this past Thursday online and around the world, the Spider-Man Homecoming trailer was released.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
So people have been salivating, and I thought we would go over it, but then I thought, no, we won't. Because the day after this trailer was released, on Friday, I found a link to the international trailer, which has slightly different footage.
All right.
Would you rather watch that instead?
Yeah, I think
They tend to be a little bit better than a domestic.
Okay. And I looked ahead of time, no subtitles.
Sweet.
Interesting.
I sent the video. So the preamble will be a couple snippets from Civil War.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Hey, everyone.
As if you click the link and have no idea what you're staring at already. New York. Favorite stomping ground and destruction place of Marvel Comics.
Doesn't fit me. Just don't do anything I would do. And definitely don't do anything I wouldn't do. There's a little gray area in there, and that's where you operate.
All right, that's very confusing.
Wait a minute. You want the real Avengers?
This is a very Spider-Man fight scene.
Yes.
Which is surprising because after all the movies, it looks like this is the first one that takes advantage of his power.
You're an Avenger, in case you were wondering.
Oh.
That's not a hug. I'm just grabbing the door. Good luck out there.
The world's changing, boys.
The Shocker.
Is that who he is?
That's who that was. Bokeem Woodbine as the Shocker.
And
Listen,
Vulture.
Peter, forget the flying monster guy. There are people who handle this sort of thing.
I'm sick of him treating me like a kid.
But you are a kid.
This is my chance to prove myself.
And there's the wings.
Not typically they're used in the comics, but I'll take it.
Because I will kill you and everybody you love.
The end of this in the freighter, this is incredible.
Yeah.
Look at him hold that together.
Yeah.
Split it in half. That,
They saw what Cap did with the helicopter, I think they wanted to top it.
Wait for it.
Hello.
Spidey and Iron Man.
Okay.
So, the extra footage had to do with the appearance of the Shocker. That was not seen in the regular trailer in the U.S. It looks like the premise of the film, from what little I can piece together from the trailer, it's a little cryptic, is that Tony Stark is still in the midst of rebuilding the Avengers, and he has not invited Peter Parker to be one of them. It looks like he wants the kid to just I don't know about learn on his own, but not take things as seriously as a superhero would, at the very least. He wants him to I guess learn by beating up the small fry would be the right way to put it.
Oh, Shocker is considered small fry.
Well, in the comic books, both Shocker and Vulture are both small fry. In this movie, though, they both look like they're going to be pretty serious threats. What are your first opinions? Because I saw that trailer and I'm not over the moon, but there's enough that I want to see a movie.
I feel about the same, to be honest.
I don't know. I'm completely fine with it. It looks like it's going to be fun, if nothing else.
Yeah.
I mean, the footage I saw of him in high school during San Diego Comic-Con looked like a lot of fun. I'm just saying that from what little I saw, I'm not like, I'm not fired up or anything. I just want to see a movie. That's all. I don't have the same kind of feeling I had coming out of like the Guardians of the Galaxy trailer or even the Doctor Strange trailer. I'm just hoping for the best. That's all. We did get a detailed look at the suit that the Vulture is going to use via Newsarama, and I'm going to say this is a potential Build-A-Figure. It looks like Spider-Man Homecoming is going to get its own line of Legend-sized figures, and the Build-A-Figure will be a completed Vulture. If you take a look, the wings are going to be huge in this.
Damn.
There's 2 fan jets that look like they swivel within their mounts on those wings. And you can see that the suit is primarily like it looks like an Air Force bomber and flight jacket.
Mm-hmm.
Then a specialized helmet in the wings, and then some big toe claws added on at the bottom there.
So the pants look a little bit cybernetic or, armored up.
Oh, it's kind of reminding me of like an advanced version of Falcon's flight pack.
I would say almost a prototype of that.
Prototype or a second generation, maybe. Prototype's more likely.
Yeah, prototype sounds much more likely considering how condensed and multi-use the Falcon's pack is.
Yeah.
There was also an indication that some bad guys in the movie are going to have some advanced weaponry. People are speculating that that's where the Tinkerer comes into the film. Maybe he gets his hands on some leftover alien tech and starts making new things.
Mm.
As it turns out, though, Tom Holland did some unique stuff to study for this role. I don't know if people are aware, he's British. He grew up in England.
Oh, okay.
And to get a flavor of what it's like to be an American, without most of the populace knowing it, he enrolled in a New York high school for 3 days.
Really?
Yeah.
I feel sorry for him.
According to a Q&A on Facebook Live, quote, "The coolest thing I did for the movie was I enrolled in a high school in New York, in the Bronx, as a secret. No one knew who I was or what I was doing. I had a fake name and a fake accent. I went to school for 3 days. It was really fun. It was really interesting because New York high schools are so different to schools that I went to in London. Where I went to school, you have to wear a suit and a tie, and it's all boys. And for me, it was the first time that I was in a classroom with girls. It was a really strange experience. It was really fun," unquote.
Huh.
You know what made it really fun was that you did it for 3 days.
Yeah.
Try an adolescent's worth of it. It gets old fast. Additionally, I guess Disney and Marvel have heard something good, because they have decided to schedule Spider-Man Homecoming 2 for Friday, July 5th, 2019.
Already?
Already.
The
movie is still 7 months from release, and they're already scheduling the sequel. And these plans have reportedly interfered with a couple other things, including moving Bad Boys 4 off its intended Independence Day release. That movie is now being moved up to Memorial Day.
Do we really need another Bad Boys movie?
I don't think we needed 2 of them. 1 was enough, in my opinion. However, apparently, this does collide with some kind of unknown Universal Illumination movie. And Warner Brothers doesn't look like it's going to move its Minecraft movie off the same weekend.
Wait, making a Minecraft movie?
Yes. Yeah. They've been working on that for a while.
Well, I've been surprised by the Lego movie, so we'll see.
So Spider-Man Homecoming opens July 7th of 2017. Spider-Man Homecoming 2, if it stays on schedule, will be July 5th, 2019. Just a scant 2 years after that. God, Tom Holland he's going to be in that suit so much, he's going to wake up one day and just have this web pattern burned into his skin. News that will probably make some people really excited. We discussed last week how ABC and Marvel Entertainment is moving forward with an IMAX-filmed Inhumans show. Well, somebody must have impressed someone else, because the showrunner of Iron Fist, Scott Buck, is going to be handling the executive producing and show running for the Inhumans TV show. It's supposed to explore the, quote, never-before-told epic adventure of Black Bolt and the royal family, unquote.
Adventure?
They do have some adventures when they get out of the castle. And lately, Medusa has probably been the highest profile Inhuman there has been in the comic books, at least. That's only because she keeps guest starring in all these other books. If you ask me which one is doing the best solo, that's probably Karnak. He's been floating his own damn series for a while now.
I know so very little about the Inhumans, so I couldn't begin to speculate on anything.
I know a fair amount about them. Right now, Karnak is the one that frightens me. Netflix, however, is going to take all the Marvel series that they've done so far, Jessica Jones, Daredevil, and Luke Cage, and re-release them in 4K high def.
All right.
Interesting.
HDR is going to allow for noticeably improved contrast and color ranges even from non-HDR 4K displays. They're going to do it sequentially with Daredevil, Jessica Jones, and Luke Cage, and then they're going to apply this technology to Marvel series as they come out, which now includes Iron Fist. I'd say that's good news for them. Speaking of Iron Fist, the showrunner for Iron Fist, we just spoke about him, Scott Buck, he says that Danny Rand is not a white savior. He told Gadget 360, quote, "When Marvel came to me with this idea, I've never heard of Iron Fist or Danny Rand. I had never read the comics. What Marvel TV head Jeff Loeb pitched me specifically was his character Danny Rand, and that was the story that pulled me in. That intrigued me. So the other aspects I only learned about afterwards, and I can say most definitively Danny Rand is no white savior. He's trying to save himself, if anything," unquote. There's been a lot of controversy since this series was announced. Well, not a lot. Let's just say internet controversy anyway, about the comic book version of Danny Rand coming to the big screen as the character that learns martial arts and inherits the technique of the Iron Fist. And a lot of people were upset that this was not changed into an Asian character because there aren't enough Asian characters on TV, as people put it. I understand the argument. However, this is an older story that we all know about, and it's not like Danny Rand is the first or even the last Iron Fist.
Yeah, it's not like the Iron Fist is like a one-person thing, I believe.
He's technically not even the first white person who's been in Iron Fist. That was retconned in Avengers vs. X-Men. But, he's just one in a line of Iron Fist, so there's really not that much to get upset about. If anything, he's an aberration. He's the Barack Obama of Iron Fists. And besides which, don't judge it till you see it. That's all I can say. Don't judge it till you see it. Don't just assume everyone's saying only white people can save us. Further on in Marvel media news, it has been announced this week that Netflix would like a second cup of coffee.
God damn it.
Season 2 of Luke Cage has been ordered. There was an announcement video. I cannot see it online right now for some reason. But the announcement video included the storefront of Pop's Barbershop, restored from the shot-up condition it was at the end of Season 1. And this was to indicate that Luke Cage and Bobby Fish did restore the shop. That means that the second season of Luke Cage is now included in the upcoming lineup for Netflix and Marvel in 2017 and beyond, which now includes Iron Fist, The Punisher, The Defenders, and the third season of Daredevil and the second season of Jessica Jones. And this does not include the network TV shows that they're working on, which now includes Inhumans, Damage Control, and a John Ridley-fronted project, which hasn't been announced yet, the Cloak and Dagger show they're working on Freeform, The Runaways on Hulu, and another untitled comedy project with ABC Studios. And all this doesn't even include Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which is going to run into its, I believe it's the second half of its third season, going into 2017. When you list it out like that, it starts to get intimidating. There's no release date or production schedule yet for Luke Cage now that they've announced Season 2. I'm guessing if they announced it, all they probably have right now is a script and a handful of contacts, and now they have to start making phone calls. This was not news I expected. In Montreal in May of 2017, according to Le Journal de Montréal, set construction is going to begin in January on an unnamed X-Men film.
X-Men?
X-Men.
What's Fox doing?
Well, that is the thing that is a bit of speculation. In the middle of the week, there was a tweet from the man who's going to be directing New Mutants who said that he's beginning work on it, and he's beginning work in January. So, with that combined with the announcement of set construction to begin in January on an unnamed film, I think we can figure out what's going on here. The New Mutants are on their way. If they're beginning set construction, that's all well and good. My question is, have they finished casting yet? We've heard the various
prospective characters.
They've already cast Magic. It was a young lady who helmed the Witch film from earlier this year. Supposedly Maisie Williams was interested in playing the Scottish character Wolfsbane, although that was never confirmed to my knowledge. The characters of Magic, Mirage, Cannonball, and Sunspot, to my knowledge, have not been cast. And I believe they were working Warlock into the film. No Cypher, no Karma that I know of. And I seriously doubt they'll work Gossamer into this. That wasn't their best moment. So that is all I have, unfortunately, at this point. Ryan Reynolds decided to tell Entertainment Weekly about the sequel to Deadpool and what to expect from it.
Mm-hmm.
He spoke a little bit about the new director, David Leitch. Quote, "Everybody was just a fan of his work. He's just a guy who's so muscular with his action. He really understands those Deadpool sensibilities and where we need to take the franchise from here. And I love John Wick. One of the things that David Leitch does that very few filmmakers can do these days is they can make a movie on an ultra-tight, minimal budget look like it was shot for 10 to 15 times what it costs," unquote. He then confirmed that they are casting for the mutants of Cable and Domino. Producer Simon Kinberg assured them that the film would not move away from the unique, smaller aesthetic of the original. Quote, "The goal for us when we sat down and started talking about it was that it needs to be as provocative and startling as the first film, which means it can't just be a continuation of the first film. That's the biggest mandate going into the second film, not to make it bigger. We have to resist the temptation to make it bigger in scale and scope, which is normally what you do when you have a surprise hit movie. But to actually stay true to the tenets of its tone and to the style and humor that made it so special. It's not the explosions and the special effects," unquote. Well, I mean, that's all well and good, but it still sounds like he's essentially trying to make the same film as the first. They don't want to up the budget, they don't want to up the scale, so that pretty much leaves the same characters in similar settings, doesn't it?
Well, I don't think the same characters, but, you know, if they're casting Domino and Cable.
I was talking about this with a coworker. The casting of Domino and Cable, you have to make a different movie. Because when you think about what they did in the original, the heroes were Deadpool, Colossus, and Negasonic Teenage Warhead. So you had the wacky one, the straight man comic relief, and the acerbic cynical teen. Now, if you assuming that Colossus and Negasonic Teenage Warhead are not part of this film, now you have Deadpool, Cable, and Domino. The wacky one, the serious one, and the serious one.
Yeah.
It doesn't indicate that the movie's going to retain the same tone because you've just made your world tighter as far as your comedy. It's all going to be Deadpool trying to be himself in a world that is not like him, you know? So that tells me that it needs to be a fundamentally different film. You guys can argue it if you want, but that's what I see when I listen to this.
I don't know. I mean, we'll just have to wait and see what they come up with. I don't really know how to... Because they still haven't really said what their vision for it is going to be other than, you know, yeah, more of the same, it sounds like. But, you know, it worked for me, so I'm not going to second guess them.
Well, Tim Miller opened up about his split from the second Deadpool film. He was the director of the first film who decided not to work on the second. And he didn't really address why he left. He decided to address other things when he talked to the Chaos Group.
Mm-hmm.
He said, quote, "I haven't talked since Deadpool 2. I stepped off the movie. I just want to say one thing to our geek audience out there because it's important to me what the geeks and nerds of the world think because they are my brothers and sisters. I didn't want to make some stylized movie that was 3 times the budget, and if you read the internet, and who cares really, but for those of you that do, I wanted to make the same kind of movie that we made before because I think that's the right kind of movie to make for the character. So don't believe what you read on the internet," unquote. Which is interesting because it begs the question, why did he leave if that's what Ryan Reynolds supposedly wants?
Right.
So, he decided to talk about another rumor, and he said, quote, "Kyle Chandler was not going to be Cable. All these things that you read really kind of kills me, even when people go, the movie was really hard to make. The movie was a joy to make. I think you see it on screen. We all had such a good time. We had a few arguments in post, but nothing more than casual. The crew was so great, and everybody was going to come back, and we were going to have such a good time. The idea was that it was a difficult movie. It wasn't. It was a joy and the best experience of my life," unquote. So, still, why did you leave?
Yeah. I mean, it makes it sound like somebody decided not to come back.
Yes. And then he talked a little bit about Grudges. Quote, "I wish him nothing but good. I hope it's great. I hope it's a great movie. Because I love the character and I think it's great, and I love all the actors and want to see them successful again. I haven't met David, but he's a great guy from everything I've heard. I want nothing but the best for the character and for Fox, too. They deserve to make more money. They need to make more money. They were great. They were terrific," unquote. So, basically everything
really
was fine.
avoiding the big question.
If you take that at face value, everything was great, everything was perfect, and I don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
There's something seriously wrong here, and I don't know who it is, because between the statements we just read between Ryan Reynolds and Tim Miller, somebody is leaving out part of the story, and I really don't know who. It wouldn't bother me as much, except both of them have said pretty much the same exact thing. No, we didn't want a larger budget. No, there was really no strife behind the screens. Everything was fine. And yet Tim Miller still decided, I don't want to deal with this anymore, for some reason. So, that's piquing my curiosity. What in the blue hell happened? He was signed for the second movie, and then he decided he didn't want to do it for something. And it's not like he has any other jobs lined up that I've heard about. This may boil down to some mystery until somebody pins him down at like Comic-Con and says, "What the hell, man?" If you guys have anything to add, I'm all for it right now. I
got no further insights. Just, somebody. Honestly, considering the way Hollywood goes, I don't even think anybody's ever going to really figure it out. I mean, there's going to be all kinds of theories and everything else, but as far as why, no, I don't know. Okay, well, so let me ask you a point blank question. What did you guys think of X-Men Apocalypse? Still haven't seen it.
Wow, you're taking your sweet time.
There was potential for it, but it seemed too condensed.
Okay. The reason why I ask that is because apparently X-Men Apocalypse affected another movie.
Which one?
The Mummy.
Oh.
How so?
The trailer for the Mummy remake, the one starring Tom Cruise, came out this past week. I haven't sat down to watch it because, honestly, I'm not interested in a Universal Monsters universe of films. That's just not my wheelhouse in general. It's also Tom Cruise, so that means it has to meet certain criteria before I feel like I need to watch it. The thing is, though, according to Alex Kurtzman, who I want to say is the director of The Mummy, he said, quote, "I was going down that road, and then I saw the end of Days of Futures Past, and they had the character that Oscar Isaac wound up playing as a boy, and it was, I kid you not, the exact same design." And I was like, oh man, that is not good. And it was the catalyst. It was the moment of, okay, not only is this not going to be different enough, Bryan Singer just did it, I definitely don't want to go down that road. I had that voice in my head for some time to make it a woman, and that was the moment where, the minute I saw that post-credit scene, I went, we have to start over. I don't want to mess around even remotely with anything that feels familiar or feels like it's been done. We have to go into totally new territory, unquote.
Huh.
It's been said that the design that was intended for the Mummy in his film was eerily similar to what Oscar Isaac looked like as Apocalypse for X-Men Apocalypse.
Huh.
Because of that, not only did they change the design of the costume, they decided to go with an impulse and completely change the gender of the Mummy as well.
Okay.
So, if you have issues with the design of the Mummy in the upcoming film, blame Bryan Singer. Seems to be the blanket statement we've got here. A new trailer has come out for the Legion TV show, which is debuting on FX this February. Want to see if we can get any more insight into what the blue hell is going on in this series?
Oh, I don't think you can get any more obscure.
It's like a damn Kubrick film sometimes. I sent the video.
David, your whole life people have told you you were sick.
I'm worried this whole series is going to take place inside this facility.
I'll show you that it was really just a lie. The human race beginning to evolve.
We're finally getting somewhere.
The divisions were created by our government to track and study people like you. And the ones they can't control.
Division?
They kill.
MRD?
I could help you
Weapon
rewrite
X?
the story of your life.
Shall we begin?
No, I can't. You're the key.
Why'd the glass box in the forest?
Key to what? Winning the war?
War?
Is this real?
All good in the head now?
It almost feels like this is going to traverse multiple time periods.
Extremely large amygdala. Thank you.
That revealed a little bit more.
It looks like he may actually be going up against government-trained mutants.
I don't know about mutants,
Or
soldiers
control.
for sure. They were talking about the department, which seeks out beings like him and eliminates them.
No, if they can't control them.
Yeah.
Which
But
means
that
there are
sounds
people
like
they have managed to control.
That sounds like Department H.
That
sounds like the Canadian government, frankly. Because Department H is the company, is the branch of the Canadian government responsible for the programs that created Wolverine and Weapon X. At least something's finally coming through in all this besides people staring and drooling.
Yeah, but I can't help feel that there's going to be at least two time periods that this show is going to traverse.
I don't know. It's being done by Noah Hawley, who's done the Fargo TV shows for Fox, and so far his work hasn't involved that. His work has been, I don't want to say straightforward, because Fargo tends to lean a little bit on its internal mysteries, but everything tends to go forward. Everything goes forward in a very linear fashion with his shows. And the last item I have in Marvel Media news, and it's been a big block of Marvel Media this week, is that a trailer was dropped on Saturday while we were at Great American Comic-Con for Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite. It was heavily implied in the last week that a new Marvel vs. Capcom game is coming. However, it's not a sequel to the prior ones that came before it. They have changed the game engine a little bit to have more 3D graphics, and this one appears to be Capcom characters versus the characters of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, including one who hasn't even been on screen yet. So instead of going to the trailer that was played at the PlayStation Experience that happened this past week, we're going to go ahead and play with the gameplay trailer, simply because that'll tell us a little bit more about the actual game instead of a whole bunch of flashy stuff. Sound good?
Sure.
Okay.
I sent the video.
Yay, a content warning.
It's always a content warning. We are not allowed to speak. Mega Man and Ryu versus Iron Man and Captain Marvel.
Interesting.
Seems a bit one-sided there.
Doesn't it, though? That's a lot of power. But then again, you're talking to they're up against the walking toolbox that Capcom has in robot form.
That's X.
Yeah.
It is a
walking toolbox.
Yeah, it's an easy advanced toolbox. Oh, there's his X armor.
There's Ryu doing Ryu stuff.
Yep.
And then there's Carol Danvers doing Danvers stuff.
Whoa, with the Mohawk.
And Iron Man's energy beam is a backup.
Oh, Captain.
Now there's Captain America and Morrigan. So I chose this trailer specifically because it debuted two characters who weren't in the initial announcement, in the form of, Cap and Morrigan.
Uh-huh. Power Stone.
Power Infinity Stone.
Yeah, it looks like this game will deal with the Infinity Stones as MacGuffins that can add abilities to the characters.
Oh, so they borrowed from that first Marvel fighting game. Time Stone.
Yeah, they borrowed a little bit from the first Street Fighter versus X-Men, I think.
Did she just went binary?
Yeah.
She went binary.
Damn.
So that comes out in an unknown date, 2017. Wait a second.
PlayStation, Xbox, and Steam.
Yeah, I was told that was a PlayStation exclusive. I saw an Xbox marker at the end of that.
Yep.
Somebody lied to us.
There might be a delay.
Yeah, that's probably what it is. It's probably going to be exclusive to PlayStation for a couple of months, and then...
Well, that's going to irritate some people because my PlayStation friends have been lording that over me, knowing I'm a Marvel fan for the last week. Now I get to point out to them, all I gotta do is be patient. So, looks like I may actually play that one after all, but I'm not as big into fighters, so I'll have to find some special part of my drive to go get it.
Yeah, I used to be really into fighters, then everybody stopped playing with me, and so
The thing is, though, I don't know about me personally, but as a show, I will need to follow that game for a bit, because you can bet about 3 months after it's out, esports are going to be all over that for competitions.
Of course.
That's going to be huge. We'll move from there into DC media news. We'll talk about the other major company and their multimedia properties coming to monitors near you in the near future. And something interesting came out just yesterday.
What?
Okay.
The Justice League Part 2 has been delayed.
What?
Really?
The Justice League, as we've been talking about in the filming schedule, was supposed to film 2 movies back-to-back.
Okay.
That plan has apparently been altered. The Justice League sequel in 2019 is being pushed back, according to The Hollywood Reporter, to make way for another movie in its own universe. The Justice League has apparently, and you'll like this, been defeated by the Batman. The Batman is taking over Justice League 2's originally announced June 14th, 2019 release date. Another side effect of this shuffle, and this is also interesting to me, is that Zack Snyder is said to be taking a break from DC movies to direct one of his own films. It's going to be titled The Last Photograph, described as a thriller following an embedded journalist during the war in Afghanistan. Snyder has apparently come up with this story since before he directed 300.
Wow.
So this is creating a whole lot of questions. According to The Hollywood Reporter, Snyder is still intent on directing the second Justice League film. So it's not like he's leaving the properties by themselves. However, this is one of those interesting items because... I need to keep an eye on this because you know how Hollywood works. Part of it is politicking. And this could be someone's way of creating an opening to get rid of him, or it could be Snyder's way of creating his own opening for someone to move in and take over.
Mm-hmm.
And as much as critically it seems like people don't like these films, monetarily they're making a pretty good amount of money. So creating this kind of shuffle while you're in the middle of building your universe seems like a really strange development to me.
Yeah.
However, just because Snyder's leaving doesn't mean the movies won't have oversight, because the other film heads of DCU, Jeff Johns and John Berg, are still going to be there and still working on all these movies. So does that mean that Zack Snyder... I wonder if that means Zack Snyder will have nothing to do with the Batman solo film.
I thought Ben Affleck was all over that one.
Well, he's directing it. He's producing it. I believe he's worked on parts of the script. However, it's been pretty well established that the DC cinematic films have to fit within the tone that's set by Zack Snyder originally, and then they have to fit in the tone that is currently set by Snyder, Johns, and Berg. If Zack Snyder is taking a break, does that mean that they have to fit more in Jeff Johns and John Berg's vision than Snyder's? See what I'm driving to there?
Yeah.
I mean, this is one of those situations where you could almost say somebody engineered a scenario where Snyder can't be involved in a film to see what comes out of it. What does their universe look like if he doesn't have his creative input? That's if you're a cynic. You know, in my case, I don't like Snyder as a filmmaker, but I can't guarantee that just because Johns and Berg are the only ones left running things that you'll create a better film. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
So this just creates an interesting scenario that's going to need some watching going forward. NBC's comedy Powerless, based on DC Comics and a fictional insurance company within, has been given a release date. It's going to debut on NBC on February 2nd. There was an advance review of the pilot from Comic-Con that was not kind. I don't know if anything has changed since then. I'll watch the pilot and I'll make a decision at that time. I just hope Alan Tudyk has a hit. The guy works really hard.
Mm-hmm.
And last up in DC media news, Diamond and Mezco's new line of action figures now includes some pretty notable characters from DC's mythology. You guys want the gallery on Newsarama?
Sure.
Yeah.
Their new toy line includes versions of Black Adam and the Red Sun Superman from the fictional timeline where he was a Soviet.
Interesting.
It looks like the figures even come with bases and posing arms like you find from some high-end retailers. Black Adam even comes with a lightning bolt that strikes his chest. You know, like when he says his word of power.
Mm-hmm.
It's a pretty nifty idea. Oh, there's Arsenal, too.
Yeah. Is it before or after he lost his arm?
This looks like the post Flashpoint version, which means he has both arms.
Oh, okay.
These look like they're a couple steps cheaper than Hot Toys stuff. So if you're looking to expand a figure that doesn't require $200 per figure, this was probably the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Sun looks impressive. Complete with a Brainiac head he can dangle from one hand.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yes. And he also has a Soviet flag in the box.
Right.
That's awesome. You know, the only thing that bothers me about figures like this is not their articulation or detail. These are good-looking figures. The only thing that bothers me is when you get a good close look at them and you realize they're wearing fabric that's intended for a full-size human being. My OCD can't get over the fact that this fabric would look like corduroy if that's how they wore it, you know? I'm really not trying to crap on this. It's just a detail that bothers my brain. That's all. But overall, these are really good-looking action figures. If you're a DC fan and want to put something on a shelf, I don't think you can do worse than this. Geez, that sounded horrible. I don't think you can do better than this. These are 1 to 12 scale action figures, which means they'd be roughly 8 inches tall on the average.
112? No.
Yeah, maybe closer to 10. Yeah, probably closer to 10 inches.
Yeah.
You can probably get them from Diamond retailers right now.
I'm actually wondering if there's a wire in the cape for Black Adam.
I don't know. I didn't get that close of a look. They've produced some interesting stills, but they're just stills. It's not like you can tell a lot from those.
Yeah. I mean, it's obvious that you can move the hood because you can put it up or down.
Yeah. How about we talk about some multimedia that isn't Marvel or DC related?
Okay.
That's why we have general media news. Sometimes there's just geeky stuff that comes out that doesn't have to do with comic books that either of the big two owns. Unfortunately, sometimes we just have to talk about people that passed away, and this past week, Van Williams died. I'm pretty sure neither of you know who that is.
No.
It's not ringing a bell.
In 1966, for one season, Van Williams played Britt Reed and his alter ego, the Green Hornet, on television.
Oh.
He was the one who co-starred with Bruce Lee, who played Kato for that TV show.
Oh.
The show even had a crossover episode with the other major superhero show running in 1966, Batman, starring Adam West. The Green Hornet, however, wasn't as campy of a show. It was an attempt at a more serious superhero show, and after The Green Hornet, Williams was on television for another decade before he became an actual hero by becoming a reserve sheriff deputy and volunteer firefighter in Los Angeles.
Huh.
He passed away at the age of 82. The actual cause of death hasn't been given. However, he was 82.
Don't think the Grim Reaper's done with us here.
No.
No, and there's only 3 weeks left, and he's trying to fit in quality people still. And Kanye West was allowed out of the hospital. Go figure. I am a fan of Westworld. That show has pulled me in ways I didn't think were possible for a show that is not action-heavy. It's very thought-provoking, but they've managed to piss me off.
Oh.
The season finale was this past week on December 4th. I watched the episode December 5th after Great American Comic-Con, and the announcement came out this past Monday, December 5th, that there will be no new episodes until 2018.
Yeah.
According to the series producer, Jonathan Nolan, who told The Hollywood Reporter, quote, definitely not coming back until 2018. Look, we said to the network very early that this was a different kind of show, having gone through the experience of making the pilot. Game of Thrones is incredibly ambitious, and that was part of the reason we knew we wanted to make this show with HBO. Game of Thrones kind of has written the book on production value for television and how to make something that has all the scope and scale of cinema for a TV show. They also have an advantage of having George R.R. Martin's amazing books, or had it for the first 6 seasons, which gives you a leg up. I still don't know how they turned those seasons around in a year. It's astonishing, but we knew for ourselves that going forward, the production is enormously challenging and ambitious, and so is the writing. So we said very early on that we wouldn't be able to turn this around every year, and knowing full well that it's been a time-honored tradition in television. But in film, my other life, on the Batman movies, the best we could do is turn another one around in 3 years. I really feel like we're splitting the difference here, unquote. As much as I applaud that, screw you, man. You gotta wait over 12 months for this? It didn't end on a cliffhanger, it just ended with a huge question. Let me put it that way. And some questions I really need answered. God damn it, splitting the difference. Split the...
Sounds like a first world problem, man.
Yeah, I want to be mad, but entirely I can't be. You know, he's trying to put out a quality product, and I applaud that, but at the same time, that's a hell of a wait. Maybe in the next season we'll get Samurai World like they showed in the last episode. The Mighty Morphin Power Rangers movie is getting closer to coming out. We have seen the interesting designs of their suits. We have seen the nightmarish designs of their Zords in Alpha 5. However, there is one thing that will be entirely intact in the new movie. The theme song.
Really?
According to a recent Instagram post by one member of the London Philharmonic, they posted an image from a recording session for the movie to Instagram featuring sheet music that included the classic theme for the Power Rangers. So it may not be necessarily 2 guitars and a drum machine like it was on the TV show, but it is the same tune, just played through an orchestra.
Okay. I was going to say, because what I've seen of in the trailer so far, the old theme song doesn't really fit.
Neither does the movie from what I've seen so far, but I'm willing to give it a chance. An image has come out, too, of a recent theatrical release poster that supposedly gives us the best view of the Zords we've had yet. And I can only say because we see one of them fairly clearly. The 2 more are obscured partially by fog, 2 more are obscured by heavy fog. You can take a look at this, and you get a really good look at the saber-toothed tiger Zord, which, as we saw with the toy, looks vaguely like a saber-toothed tiger, though not entirely. You can sort of see the...
Pterodactyl and Tyrannosaurus.
Yeah, you can see the pterodactyl jet, which looks vaguely like a pterodactyl, but it's primarily a jet. That was probably the most agreeable of the 4 designs we saw. The Tyrannosaurus... I don't know. I've seen a toy version, and now in this obscure version, I would almost say it looks like a Tyrannosaurus that has huge haunches and somebody stripped the skin off it.
Grimlock?
No, he actually has style. And I noticed... Grimlock? Well, the thing I noticed most about this poster is that the 2 Zords that look the least like their earthen counterparts are the ones that are completely obscured. The Mammoth and the Triceratops, if you recall those toys, Jesse?
Yeah.
Steve, you weren't here for that conversation.
No.
The Triceratops has 6 legs.
Why?
And it really, I don't know, it really doesn't have a head that resembles a Triceratops. I mean, it has these horn
prongs.
things. Yeah, but it doesn't really look like a Triceratops. The Mastodon looks nothing like a Mastodon. It has a bison-like body, a buffalo-like head. Its face doesn't have anything resembling a trunk or look elephant-like, and it has 8 legs.
Again, why?
8 small legs, to be exact.
You keep asking me why as if I have anything to do with the designs of these monstrosities.
I know, but jeez.
You know, it's one of those cases where if you're going to go that far, why the frick are we even using power morphers at this point, you know? Just let it go. And we've discussed
why even try to make it, anywhere remotely like an animal or something,
I don't know, and we've discussed that we've seen the symbols on these power morphers. They are the symbols of Earth and, dinosaurs and early mammals, so I don't know why they're taking this massive step away from it as far as the machinery that's being used. Which really makes me worried about what the fully formed Megazord is going to look like.
We've seen that in the toys, so...
We've seen the toys, however, I seriously doubt it's going to be a man in a bunch of blocky costume bits knocking over cardboard buildings like there were in the TV shows.
Could be worse. It could be that last movie that they put out.
No, I'd say worse would be that the Sixth Ranger brings the Godzilla Zord. That would be worse. We have had short conversations about the film reboot to Lara Croft, which is going to be the survival-style Lara Croft and not booty shorts Lara Croft.
Mm-hmm.
They've picked their man to play the villain in the film. It's going to be played by Walton Goggins. Walton Goggins' most recent exploits have been on Vice Principals and Justified for FX. His most recent film credit that I know of was as a villain in the recent Quentin Tarantino film, The Hateful Eight.
Oh, he was in The Shield.
Yes, he was also in Django Unchained. He had a big role in The Shield. He also was in Sons of Anarchy and Deadwood. He's a Southern man. It's kind of hard to describe. He's the guy you usually see with a crew cut, bright white teeth, and a Southern drawl. He's a very versatile actor. So it's one of those cases where I hope they give him a good role to play. There is a webtoon company that is an unmitigated success right now. Have you ever heard of Line Webtoons?
No.
They are a digital comics publisher, and they've been high in the lead when it comes to development of different webtoons and distribution of comics worldwide. The reason why I say they're an unmitigated success is currently on Patreon, they make over $100,000 a month.
Wow.
More than $100,000 is going to the artists of Line Webtoon every month.
That's what we call a fan base.
Well, they're also producing. Since August, Line Webtoons has seen an increase in its production of chapters by 43%, spanning titles across most major genres from romance to superheroes to slice of life. And subscriptions to titles published on Discover have exploded to over 2.6 million. Line Webtoons is becoming a force all its own. Line Webtoon is a creator-focused company dedicated to fostering new talent and helping artists monetize their work in the digital realm while still granting creators full ownership of their intellectual properties. It's not a work-for-hire contract. If you make it inside Line Webtoon, you still own it. That's something to be proud of.
No.
Ubisoft executives, the game company, they've created several interesting franchises over the years, including South Park, Assassin's Creed, and others. They have been sanctioned for 1.2 million euros.
For what?
Well, specifically, they sanctioned 5 of their employees for insider trading.
Ooh.
Oh.
According to the Autorité des Marchés Financiers, or the AMF, they're a body that monitors and regulates the French stock market. They've accused Ubisoft Montreal CEO Yannis Mallat and 4 other executives of selling stock in early October 2013, just before the announcement that the Watch Dogs and the Crew would be delayed until 2014. After those delays were announced, the value of Ubisoft stock dropped by about 25%. So they've been fined 1.2 million euros combined, not individually. They determined that the CEO, Yannis Mallat, should pay back 700,000 euros. The VP of Corporate Affairs, Francis Balayer, 200,000 euros. The Worldwide Studios Executive Director, Christine Burgess, 200,000 euros. Montreal VP of Executive Operations, Oliver Paris, 100,000 euro. And Ubisoft Brand Development Director, Damien Moret, 15,000 euro. Apparently what he did was small potatoes compared to the others. However, Ubisoft has told Kotaku that they intend to fight the AMF's decision. They argue that Mallet and other executives were not in a position to know about the delays when they sold their Ubisoft shares. Not in a position. They're VPs, directors, and VPs and development... Yeah, they're VPs and directors. And the CEO. How could they not know about the delays? They'd be the first ones to know about it.
Yeah, the CEO at least would have to be the one to say, okay, we have to make this announcement.
Wow. That's ballsy. So, no, we did not break any rules. We are too stupid to break rules. We know nothing about this company. That's what they're saying.
Oh, that's not what I'm groaning at.
Okay. There's a small console coming out that can play retro games from 28 different systems.
Oh?
Yeah, you've heard about the Nintendo NES Classic Edition, that mini game that comes with 30 games preloaded?
Yep.
Apparently someone's looking to make it small potatoes. They call it the Retro Engine Sigma. It has promises to emulate games from over 28 classic gaming machines. It is a palm-sized console that is the same approximate size as the NES Classic Edition, but it has 4K capable media center. It also has the ability to play things from the Game Boy to Dreamcast to N64.
Okay.
The first 500 contributors to the Retro Engines crowdfunding can pre-order the console for $50, which includes a 16-gig micro SD card for storing games and media, and a USB gaming controller so you can start playing one of the 15 included games right away. However, again, this is a crowdfunded project, so there's no guarantee that if you fund it, that's what you'll get.
Right.
The crowdfunding required $20,000. There is a month left. It's an Indiegogo campaign. It doesn't give me direct data as to how much is left. However, of that $20,000 goal, they have currently raised $311,502 US.
Yeah.
From 3,918 people. I applaud the idea. I really do. I'm sure there's a lot of old intellectual property out there that'd be fun to play again on larger TVs. However, this seems like a lot of license work.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious to know how they can get that done.
Not
going to say they can't. I mean, other companies have managed to pull this off. But the idea that they're presenting here seems to involve Nintendo properties, Sega properties, Neo Geo properties, which means SNK properties, sorry. Sega CD properties, Genesis properties, PlayStation properties, Neo Geo Pockets. You know, there's a lot of different stuff you'd have to sign up for. They're even proposing like Atari ST and Lynx and Atari like 7800 games here.
Well, I guess it kind of depends on how much money those companies are making on those products right now. Because if they're trying to license games that you can't play anywhere else, as long as they're willing to pay some kind of fee to the company that owns them, then I'm sure that company's going, okay, money for, stuff that we're not making money on, that could work.
Potentially, but some companies in here, including SNK and Nintendo, have been notoriously tight-fisted with their licensing.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, definitely.
So, and part of the sales pitch here is that you're supposed to be able to play games from Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Neo Geo handheld, Game Boy Advance, Game Boy Color. You can see where I can be a little skeptical.
Oh, no, yeah. I get it.
So, I would like to hear that it works, but I'm going to sit back and wait to hear that it works,
Yeah.
The winner of this year's Hugo Award is writing a novel for Mass Effect.
Interesting.
There are novels that are going to tie into the next coming Mass Effect game, Mass Effect Andromeda. It's being written by N.K. Jemisin, who won the 2016 Hugo for Best Novel. He currently has a book out that is a climate change saga called The Fifth Season. Oh, I'm sorry. N.K. Jemisin is a she. I apologize. She's a writer for Titan Books, and she's been tapped for the third novel in the line, currently due out in fall of 2017. Well, at least you're almost guaranteed for a good book.
Mm.
And last up in general media news, this is one of those things that makes me smile, but it makes me scared. According to Variety, Circle of Confusion is a production company that makes TV shows, and they have optioned 2 game series to make TV shows out of.
Which ones?
Altered Beast
Okay.
and Streets of Rage.
No.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
There have been no details about the proposed projects. However, it has been confirmed they now own the licenses to make TV shows out of these 2 games. And they're both side-scrolling adventure games, which isn't bad. However, side-scroller adventure games from the 16-bit saga rarely had deep stories.
Yeah.
Altered Beast was a game where you were fighting against the gods to rescue your lady, or if you were playing 2 players, lady's love. And you had to fight through monsters and kick over stones to gain souls so that you could eventually turn into anthropomorphic versions of bears, dragons, tigers, and werewolves.
Yeah.
That's about as deep as this.
Dead by Zeus to rescue Athena.
Yeah, as if any of that made sense.
Yeah.
So, I am Zeus. I'm the all-powerful god. Quick, raise me a corpse so I can rescue the other god. And then there's Streets of Rage, where it's the usual, a mysterious gang boss named Mr. X is taking over the streets of your favorite town, so you gather your buddies to beat up every gangster you can find. That's the story.
Yep.
You know, the only thing that can make it better is if occasionally in the TV show somebody hits a panic button for help and a Nissan 300 pulls up, some guy leans out of the top, fires a rocket into the air, and just kind of hopes it hits everything on the screen but you.
Or grenade launchers if you're playing 2-player.
Yes. As much as I would like to see these TV shows, I am frightened. I'm just purely frightened.
You know, Streets of Rage, if they actually kind of go a Kung Fury route,
okay, if they did that, I would be in. There would be, just hire the guys in Sweden who make Kung Fury, tell them, we have a budget. Oh, we'd be right there. Bring Barbariana with you, please. We'll go into Marvel comic news. We'll talk about the Marvel properties that are headed for the comic book pages right now and in the near future. And I have news that Steve is going to like and Jesse's going to like for different reasons.
Oh, okay.
In March, it looks like Norman Osborn is going to return as a villain in Spider-Man.
Okay.
See, I knew Jesse would like that news. The reason why Steve would like that news is because returning with Norman Osborn will be series artist Stuart Immonen.
Oh, wow.
This will be the new status quo after the clone conspiracy ends. This has been spoiled from a premature Amazon.com listing. The collection was supposed to be for Amazing Spider-Man 25 through 28, and March's Amazing Spider-Man number 25 was said to set up the new status quo post-clone conspiracy, which includes Parker versus Osborn.
Going back to a classic.
Well, Osborn, at the end of Superior Spider-Man, was cured of his goblin madness via a serum that Peter Parker created. But it turns out that a sane Norman Osborn might actually be more dangerous than the crazy one. Go figure.
Focus?
Yeah. Now he actually knows what he wants. Speaking of which, there was a big clone conspiracy reveal this past week. Clone Conspiracy number 3 came out, and as we know, the Jackal has been resurrecting character in Spider-Man's history for unknown reasons. But instead of coming back in that bizarre Grinch's Stole Christmas suit, the green furry thing, for some reason he's been running around in a red suit with an Anubis-style mask.
All right.
In Clone Conspiracy number 3, Spider-Man and the Jackal actually faced off, fist to fist. And Parker was amazed because the Jackal has never been as fast or as strong as he was in that confrontation. When the Jackal removed his mask, we found out it's not Miles Warren.
Who was it?
It's not the man that has harangued Peter Parker and his genetics for 4 decades now. The name of the man under the mask is Ben Reilly.
What?
Really?
Yes, and it is not Uncle Ben, because that was what was pulled out of a coffin at the end, and that's who the Jackal wants to resurrect next. This Ben Reilly was the Scarlet Spider clone.
Gotcha.
The one who was melted down into goo, and we were told by comics writers could never be resurrected again. Never believe them when they say that.
Yeah.
Ever. There's always a way. But that does add a new wrinkle to it when Miles Warren is not the problem here. Somebody as fast and as strong as Peter Parker is now the problem. I would call that dangerous. Further on, when it comes to Spider-Man, there is a new Spider-Man Venom event coming in 2017. It's going to hit books specifically in the Venom series. The issue will come out in May, and it will be Venom number 150. It's being teased as the biggest Venom story in 10 years. This insert came out via the Inhumans vs. X-Men calendar sent to retailers this past week. According to the insert, it's going to be illustrated by Adam Kubert and Dean White. And the image is of Venom carrying a beaten-up Peter Parker up the side of a building.
Again, that seems rather classic.
Yes, however, this is Venom's new host, Lee Price.
Lee Price, okay.
Lee Price is the current host of the Venom symbiote. There are plans for Eddie Brock to be related to this story somehow, but Lee Price will apparently be Venom going forward.
Do we know anything of his backstory?
He is a low-level gangster who recently got his hands on the Venom symbiote, and I haven't read the book yet. I've flipped through a couple pages. From what I can tell, he doesn't talk in wheeze. He talks in eyes.
Oh.
And it looks like the Venom symbiote is exerting no control over him. As a matter of fact, it looks like it's slaved to him. It looks like he is in firm control of what goes on.
That's a little more dangerous.
A gangster with the Venom symbiote? That's terrifying. Because before, the symbiote's always had a measure of control over its host and their impulses. This guy looks like he knows exactly what he wants the symbiote to do. I know people who are saying it has to be Flash Thompson or it has to be Eddie Brock or it's not Venom. I don't know, because just this aspect of this guy being in control of this, and he's already a notable sociopath, possible psychopath, I think that makes it worse.
It's not Carnage levels of, dangerous, but still.
Well, Carnage is more random. This guy is more directed.
So is this the same symbiote that Flash Thompson had, or is it the one that Mania had?
It's supposedly the same one Flash Thompson had.
Oh, okay. So
this new Venom story, Venom 150, will be coming out in May 2017, which will be the 29th anniversary of the debut of Venom way back in May of 1988's Amazing Spider-Man 300.
Huh.
And another Spider-Man title may be on the way, spinning out of the Clone Conspiracy. It's going to be titled Clone Conspiracy Omega. It's going to be written by Dan Slott and Christos Gage, who will write 2 stories for Clone Conspiracy Omega. A third one is going to set up a brand new Spider-Man title of some sort, and it's going to be written by what's called, quote, one of the greatest writers in Marvel history, drawn by one of the greatest artists in Marvel history, unquote. No clues have been given as to who this creative team is or what the new series will be titled. All we can say is it's going to be Spider-Man based.
Rather curious about this.
I know. Now, we talked about the all-new Marvel phases coming post-Civil War II, which is nearly over. There's a couple issues to go. But we did talk about how there's going to be a new Iron Fist series, plural, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Or it looks like Iron Fist is going to be taking care of his own business, plus that of a young girl who has martial arts abilities of her own. That series has not even come out yet, and the announcement hit just this past Thursday that there will be 2 ongoing Iron Fist series. There will be the Iron Fist title announced back in July, and a new Iron Fist singular ongoing coming out at an unknown date in the future. And this is all in addition to the Power Man and Iron Fist series, which is still ongoing. It has not seen cancellation.
Huh.
According to, this is supposed to pick up right after Kara Andrews' 2015 Iron Fist The Living Weapon series. It's going to be written by Ed Brisson, and the artist is Mike Perkins. And according to Ed Brisson, quote, Danny's in a weird place. He's questioning who he is, and he's pushing himself. He's a person filled with self-doubt, but he's always going to have his sense of humor about him, even if he's using it to cover his own pain. He's an outsider who's always trying to fit in, trying to find a place where he belongs, unquote. That's an aspect of the character I haven't heard about since he was created. You know, I know he's the white guy who currently holds the Iron Fist, but that's an aspect I don't think anyone's ever talked about before, in that even though he would have mastered this technique, he'd still be an outsider to a lot of people in Kunlun.
Yeah.
And then he brings all this back to New York, where that probably makes him even more unusual. You know, he's one of the main martial artists in the Marvel Universe, and there's not many of those to go around. So what exactly is his place? The new Iron Fist series will begin with an arc exploring a previously unknown island called Liushu, that Rand discovers with strong ties to the Iron Fist legacy, which is something he thought only Kunlun had.
Okay.
Sounds like they're starting their own mythos. Now, last week we talked about 6 out of 7 of the comic books in the Resurrection line, which is the line that is going to reintroduce the X-Men to the Marvel Universe as a whole. It turns out that the Resurrection is going to begin in a new one-off called X-Men Prime. It's going to pick up directly after Inhumans vs. X-Men, and it will be a single standalone issue that's going to set the stage for the new X-Men status quo and introduce the new teams that will be part of the line. According to an editor, Daniel Ketchum, quote, X-Men Prime is a book that represents the X-Men line going forward, as everyone plants their seeds. We're just at the tail end of the war. They're literally picking up the pieces, unquote. X-Men Prime is going to have stories written by the writers of the upcoming X-Men titles, including Mark Guggenheim of X-Men Gold, Colin Bunn for X-Men Blue, Dennis Hopeless of Jean Grey, Sina Grace of Iceman, James Robinson of Cable, and Christina Strain of the Generation X series. The art's going to be provided entirely, it looks like, by Ken Lashley. He's going to be a busy man. There's actually a few new graphics that have been released by Entertainment Weekly, who seems to be really deep into comic books lately, of the designs for some of the characters of these series. And we actually have a really good look of what Rachel Grey is going to look like as Prestige in this. It's not a bad name, however, I just wish her costume didn't look like a stage magician's assistant.
Yeah.
Because that's the... If I looked at the costume by itself, it's fine. If I hear the name by itself, it's fine. The two combined, I'm thinking Vegas.
The mini skirt is an odd throwback.
If she had full legs, it'd be fine. You know, like full leggings. I wouldn't think much of it if she had that. But the mini skirt with, you know, the knee boots underneath is just not diggity. Colossus looks good. His colors are classic, and I can see the motif of an X running through his new costume.
Yeah, it's actually almost a throwback.
Just about. It has all the elements of his 70s costume, just modernized.
Nightcrawler is very classic.
You know, as much as I would like to see him in a new costume, it's hard to argue his classic look. Man, that's just the best thing he's had so far.
Swashbuckling elf.
Yep. Storm looks like she's gone backwards a couple steps.
Yeah, actually, it's very classic as well.
Yeah. You know, the only one of those I don't like is...
about what her head...
The headpiece is back?
About. Yeah.
The headdress is the one she's had since the 70s. It's traditional for her. It's the one that Xavier found her in when she thought she was a goddess out in the African plains.
Yeah, I was wondering if it was that or if it was something a little bit different, but okay.
I guess you could say for her it's traditional. The design of Old Man Logan hasn't changed at all. It's still the man in the coat. It looks like another variation of Storm's design in there, where it's even closer to her 70s look. However, Kitty Pryde is...
totally see the headdress. Okay.
Yeah. Kitty Pryde, though, she's wearing a costume that she's worn a lot recently, which is a variation on the classic X-Men blue and gold.
Right.
The short hair is a very different look for her, though.
Yeah.
She has not had that in the mainstream books. In variant universes and what ifs, yes, but not in the Central 616. The artist did make her
looking like a leader.
Yeah, she looks like a team lead.
She kind of reminds me a bit of Moira McTaggart.
Maybe, but there's something about the confidence in that pose and the way her hair looks. She almost looks like she's got a bit of Cyclops' classic arrogance in there.
I'm kind of curious what the little doodle off to the side of her is.
I don't know.
Probably
and there's only
alternative pose for her.
It may, but it may just be character mock-up pages. These don't look like they're serious illustrations. But the last image is a splash page from Entertainment Weekly. Black and white, no inks of what the assembled team looks like. It's kind of interesting that out of all these characters, most of which have been in existence since the 70s, in this picture, Kitty Pryde does look like the most dangerous one of the crew.
Actually,
doesn't she?
Yeah.
It looks like Prestige doesn't have the skirt in this image.
That is true.
Yeah, these might have been this mock-up illustration.
Yeah, like she's got leggings, and that does look a lot better.
That actually looks a bit more like the cover we saw recently, too. Because I don't remember a miniskirt in the X-Men Gold cover.
Yeah.
So, hopefully these were just early designs and he moved on from them. So I'm going to guess...
I wonder if the miniskirt was more of a throwback to Mom.
Or maybe he just heard Prestige, drew an early mock-up and started working from there.
Yeah.
And last up in Marvel comic news, we finally have details on the Cable series. It's going to be written by James Robinson. The art will be done by Carlos Pacheco. It's going to be the sixth and, for right now, final book in the X-Men Resurrection line. Apparently, this is going to be the series that establishes Cable as the new patriarch of the X-Men. And by patriarch, no, I don't mean he's going to sit in a wheelchair, shave his head, and tell him what to do. The main story of this book is that while he's an X-Man, he is an X-Man apart. He is going to be time-jumping. This series, according to the writer, quote, "This series will be Cable on a race against time to fix time. The reason Cable must take on this quest will reveal itself as the story and mystery unfolds, but he's doing it for the sake of the Marvel Universe, which will fall apart if he does not take action. And in the course of Cable's mission, we'll see him in a lot of great time periods, like 15th century Japan, World War I, the Stone Age, Victorian England, and on, with all of those time periods made more crazy and sci-fi by the time being fractured by the villain of our series," unquote.
Interesting.
And the new villain of this series, according to another quote, is brand new. Quote, "This series, while not throwing out any of Cable's past, will focus on him as a character for new readers as well as old ones. The villain is a new character simply named Conquest. He's a technocrat from the future where he's worked out how to manipulate the butterfly effect of times past to make his reality perfect for his wants. That ripple effect has changed the present, and Cable has to stop Conquest. Conquest has no intention of being stopped and intends to use all that history has to offer in terms of warriors and villains to stop Cable at each stop our hero makes in time," unquote. That actually sounds nifty. Well, that's very different from most of Cable's series, where he's basically kind of pinballing back and forth between Strife and Apocalypse.
Yeah.
I could get behind that. And actually, I couldn't find where I got it from, but I did hear another quote regarding X-Men Blue. That is the series of the time-lost original 5 X-Men, as you recall, who are taking on Magneto as a mentor. Word is, although the team starts with 5 members, it will quickly grow. Someone else is coming.
Actually, rolling back to the X-Men Gold cover, I couldn't help but think that it was reminiscent of the actually giant-sized X-Men.
Well, that's the idea. If you recall, when we first talked about it last week, the writer is trying to recapture that Chris Claremont-style whimsy that was held throughout that period of the X-Men's growth.
Okay.
So he is looking specifically for the creative energies of the late 70s, early 80s. And because of Great American Comic-Con, I've now found out that Chris Claremont was the one responsible for rewriting a lot of characters that became X-Men.
Right.
He's responsible for the changes to both Rogue and Dazzler. Dazzler did not start out a mutant.
Really?
You didn't know that? Dazzler was created as a marketing tool.
Oh, right. I think that part I knew.
Yeah, Dazzler was created as a marketing tool for the music of disco way back when. John Romita Jr. was tasked to create a disco hero, but it was Chris Claremont who dug the character out of the Marvel archives, turned her into a mutant, and added her to the X-Men.
Okay.
See, the things you find out when you actually sit down with creators and ask a straightforward question, you know? And Romita didn't want to talk about Dazzler. I brought that up, and he groaned and just said, please, no. It's like, I'm not trying to insult you. I want to know. Now we have DC comic news. We'll talk about the other major company and their comic book characters and storylines coming to you in the very near future, if not on the stands already. And Tom King is starting a new storyline in Batman. As of the end of Batman number 11, Catwoman betrayed Batman after his team of hand-picked villains gets to Bane. And the current storyline is called I Am Suicide. It's the second story arc in what Tom King is calling his trilogy. Next up in 2017 will be a confrontation with Bane on Batman's home turf. Batman number 12 will not only reveal Batman's reaction to Catwoman's betrayal, but it's also going to feature a unique visual structure from the series artist, Janin. That sounds ominous. We really need to read this series and find out what in the blue hell's going on here.
Yeah.
A new writer is joining the Suicide Squad series in January. Simon Cy Spurrier will be taking over with January's number 9 issue. Spurrier is joining the writer Rob Williams on this issue, which is a tie-in to Justice League versus Suicide Squad. No reason was given for this edition, but Williams has told Newsarama that they will write both 9 and 10 together. I wonder if it's frustrating when you have to have two writers on a single comic trying to tell the same story. You gotta imagine they butt heads artistically at least a little bit now and again. And good news for fans of Detective Comics, because over the next few months, Detective Comics will be changing. Batwoman will be getting her own title, and Azrael will join the Detective Comics squad.
Interesting.
As you recall, that team currently consists of Batwoman, Orphan, Clayface, and Spoiler. And the writer of Detective Comics, James Tynion IV, he said he's not quite done with Tim Drake.
Of course he isn't. He left him alive.
Yeah, but there was no indication whether or not he was going to return to that series. If you take Tynion his word, it sounds like Drake will be involved in the series sometime in the future. Lately, they've just started dealing with the ramifications of Tim Drake's death because they were distracted by the whole Monsters in Gotham storyline that happened recently. And now they're not being attacked by the Colony. The Colony has not been heard of since the story arc we read. Right now, the problem is called the Victim Syndicate. You guys know what that is?
No, it's an odd name for a group, though.
Yeah, that's because they're not necessarily supervillains. The Victim Syndicate is made up of people who have been negatively affected by Batman's presence in Gotham.
Oh.
In other words, if Batman fights a villain and there's collateral damage, that's where the Victim Syndicate comes from. There are people whose lives have been ruined by the fights between Batman and his enemies. I'm not going to say that they're specifically because of anything Bruce Wayne did, but it's something we've been talking about with the focus of the Champions as a series that wants to take care of not just the villains that pop up, but also the damages caused by their fights. Which is something that comic books has largely ignored.
Yeah.
It must be a bummer when you beat up that giant lizard that was rampaging in New York and just leave it where it sits. Next week, issue 5 of Batgirl and the Birds of Prey is coming out, and apparently they've been trying to figure out who the new Oracle is. It's someone that's had a surprising amount of information about the team, which right now is Batgirl leading the Huntress and the Black Canary. And as of the solicits for next week, we found out that the new Oracle is a guy.
Okay.
Who?
Which, it isn't all that scary. He is Gus Yale, and he calls himself Batgirl's biggest fan.
That raises some flags.
It probably would, except he apparently has set no lethal traps for them. He's left clues all over the place for them to find him, and he is an active collector of Batgirl memorabilia. He's actually tried to figure out which rooftop she left her original grapple gun on so he could add it to his glass case.
Oh, man, with too much time on his hands.
He even got one of her original pairs of prescription sunglasses that, according to him, had a Coke bottle prescription, and he assumed that at some point she got LASIK. He's collected batarangs she's thrown. He has. He also said that he appreciates her work as Oracle. He took the name because he likes her.
All right, whoever made this character is a huge fanboy. Has like the complete archives of Batgirl.
I'm sorry?
I'm saying whoever made this character probably does enjoy the character a lot. It has the complete archives of all of her stories somewhere.
Well, let me read to you one of the pages here. Batgirl's looking around the cave at all the toys and the memorabilia he's collected, or not cave, Oracle's new setup, and says, "Why keep all this stuff? You're kidding, right? You guys are the OG Dream Team. You took on all the baddies, Joker, Killer Croc, Catwoman. How she would make a great teammate. Deathstroke, Calculator, Scarecrow, Ra's al Ghul." Black Canary looks at Huntress and says, "Great, turns out our supervillain is a super fan." And Huntress says, "I'm still waiting to hear the difference."
Oh. Oh.
Batgirl looks at Gus and says, "Why me?" "Why you? Because you started it all. Here you are, one person, juggling 3 identities, Barbara Gordon, Batgirl, and Oracle. You're the best crime fighter in Gotham. You're forgetting about Batman. That fraud? If people knew what I know about Batman..." Oh, no. That is a bit of a scary statement when he says, if people know what I knew about Batman. He's the guy who figured out who Barbara Gordon is all on his frickin' own, right?
Right.
So he might know more than people think he does. Cyborg is getting an upgrade. And I say that because there's another character landing in his book. I would like to know who is in charge of creating it. Number 1, it's a new female cyborg.
Okay.
No, Vic Stone is not getting a sex change. The character was previously titled as She-Borg. I'm sure that name needs to be changed a couple times.
Bad name.
You think that's bad? They finally settled on a name for this new character.
Uh-huh.
It's Variant.
What?
Okay. Well, I mean, honestly, that's better than She-Borg.
It's better than
True,
She-Borg, but 1, it's a comic book character. Calling it Variant sounds like a kick in the teeth. And secondly, you're creating a character that's a female version of Cyborg, and you call it Variant. I'm not saying I have a better name, but I have a feeling there's other stuff out there you could have gone with.
Mm-hmm. Because I think I've seen some of these covers, and I thought, oh, is this a Variant cover? That was my first impression, not as a name.
Well, I have the cover image to Cyborg number 6, which features the former She-Borg, now called Variant. And it does look like a female cyborg. If you guys have anything to add, I'm willing to listen, but, I think there's a better name you could pick for this.
Really nothing good to say other than, well, I got nothing to say.
Because female variants to superheroes are nothing new. Some of them have established pretty decent careers out of it. Characters, Batgirl, She-Hulk, Laura Kinney, a lot of good things have come out of variations on classic characters. But to take a variant character and call it Variant, I can't tell if you're being clever or if you're making fun of me.
I would hope it would be the cleverness aspect.
I would hope so, except it's just... It feels like when you name a variant character Variant, you're just kind of throwing it in everyone's faces. Here's your female cyborg. Shut up.
I don't know. I guess you'll have to actually read the comic to find out if there's a reason that they named her Variant other than that.
I suppose. There is a new Rebirth, I think, miniseries coming out for Captain Atom. This book is supposed to take the transition of Rebirth to a new level. It's being called The Fall and Rise of Captain Atom. The two writers who are responsible for the modern tales of Captain Atom will be on it, Cary Bates and Greg Weisman. They did the 1980s revamp of Charlton Comics hero Captain Atom for DC. And they're the ones who are going to do the 6-issue miniseries with artist Will Conrad. They will also revamp fan-favorite Captain Atom-related characters, including General Eiling and Dr. Magala. If you want to know why these people are accredited, Greg Weisman, he did work as a producer on certain animated series, which include Star Wars Rebels and Gargoyles.
Yeah, I know who he is. And he did work on at least the first season of Young Justice.
Mm-hmm. Cary Bates has also been in animation, probably known best for his work on Superman, and he's also done various works on other DC characters in comics over the years. So they are not bringing in new people to revamp this character. They are bringing in the people they think could do it best, obviously. And last up, Frank Miller is in talks for a new DC comic book. It hasn't been announced what this series is, other than supposedly it's going to be a World War II hero from DC.
Huh.
This was announced at the Comic-Con experience in Sao Paulo, Brazil. He spoke about his plans after Dark Knight 3, The Master Race, including one unknown project. He mentioned his 300 sequel Xerxes and the planned Dark Knight 4 with Batman as Robin's sidekick.
Wait, what?
The Dark Knight 4 will apparently feature Batman as Robin's sidekick.
Huh?
Okay.
I don't know. According to Miller himself, quote, "I have a fixation with World War II, and I'm talking to DC about a project with their heroes of the time," unquote. Those were the only details or statements given about this project. I'm still kind of stuck on the image of Robin ordering around Batman. Now we have general comic and convention news. That's where we talk about the comic book stories and characters that are not Marvel or DC related, as well as conventions occurring all around the world. Just in the last couple of weeks, we've heard about the trouble Wizard World conventions have been having. One of their VPs, it turns out, was stealing signed items and selling them for his personal profit, and they were also in the hole approximately $17 million. Well, ouch. New news has come out for Wizard World Conventions. They have a new funder.
Who?
Bristol Investment Fund Limited has stepped forward with an unspecified amount of working capital for what they call, quote, existing operations and for the creation of new vertical operating units, unquote. Judging by the careful wording there, I'm going to guess that funding will not allow them to expand their conventions, and they're probably still going to have to make some cutbacks to make everything work.
Mm.
In late November, Wizard World had notified stockholders that it had insufficient funds to operate on a long-term basis going into 2017, which probably meant they could do their announced 2017 shows, but I doubt they had anything to go beyond that. Wizard World has just over $2.5 million in working capital at the last SEC quarterly filings, but had an accumulated debt of $15.2 million. Bristol is one of Wizard World's largest stakeholders. I don't think it's a coincidence that on their board is I don't think it's a coincidence that on their board is a portfolio manager from Bristol named Paul Kessler. Obviously, they have a financial interest in seeing Wizard World continue.
Yep.
For 2017, Wizard World currently has 16 conventions planned, which is down from 18 events in 2016 and 25 in 2015. If I could guess, I'd just say they overextended themselves. Long-term comics publisher Fantagraphics is making its own superhero universe. This new push is anchored by a banner title called All Time Comics, which has several concurrent series focused on individual characters, and subtitled with names like Crime Destroyer, Bullwhip, Atlas, and Blind Justice. Writer Josh Bayer is spearheading Fantagraphics' new superhero all-time comics lineup, with various writers and artists doing what the publisher describes as starting standalone and interconnected adventures chock full of retro crime fighting, unquote. Yeah, you know, the art style is not quite mine, and characters like Bullwhip and Crime Destroyer sound a little on the nose.
Yeah.
The art for Crime Destroyer from All Time Comics, I get it, but it looks like something that was drawn with 1970s sensibilities and intent. Take a look at this image of Crime Destroyer. It's a little bit much.
Wow.
Yeah, and yes, the fists on the shoulders are part of his design.
Oh.
I see.
Pass.
Hey, you know, it's an independent book that deserves news. They're creating their own universe, which is good. I have reservations. There is a comic company out there that is getting ready to do a lot of good. You see, there is a series out there called Southern Bastards. And it is an independent book. It, I believe, is an image book, actually. And it's been doing pretty well, both critically and with sales, even though the theme isn't quite something I usually read. However, Southern Bastards number 16 has a new variant cover, and all proceeds from the sale of this variant cover to Southern Bastards 16 will go to the ACLU and Southern Poverty Law Center, which was announced on the blog of Jason Latour. It's called the Don't Be a Bastard variant. It's a riff on a well-known variant cover from Marvel's Mockingbird number 8. This is the second kind of variant that Jason Aaron and Jason Latour have created, and that prior version raised over $18,000 for the victims of the Emmanuel African Methodist Episcopal Church shooting in Charleston, South Carolina in 2015. The Southern Bastards 2016 is going to be released January 4th by Image Comics. They're raising money for charities. It's all you can ask for sometimes.
Yeah.
Yep.
There's a new webcomic out called Paradox Girl. One of the writers of IO9, James Whitbrook, has called it the best series he's read all year. It's written by Cathy Borquin. The art's done by Yishan Lee. Paradox Girl follows the adventures of the heroine as she fights crime with her best pal Axiom Man and goes through life with the power to instantly travel through time and space and happily coexist with different copies of herself from different times.
Huh.
Sometimes those copies help her save the day from giant monsters. Sometimes they help her get her favorite brand of waffles that were last on the shelves in the 1980s. She also has to deal with her other selves bickering amongst themselves as she bumbles through her adventures, as well as the fact that her time travel abilities have basically caused her to forget her own real past and origins.
Oh.
This sounds like an interesting web series, actually.
It does.
The first 3 issues of Paradox Girl came out after a successful Kickstarter earlier this year. The next 3 are currently being funded by a new Kickstarter, which will end this Sunday, December 11th. It's already reached its goal, though. IDW Comics, the people who are currently dealing with a lot of Hasbro comics and a few other independent series, they're opening a new office in Portland, Oregon.
Okay.
The main base of operations for IDW will still be in San Diego. IDW is officially branching out, per a press release, to the burgeoning comic book scene in Portland, establishing a beachhead for its new phase of development, headed up by VP of Marketing Dirk Wood. He's going to serve as the creative director for Woodworks, which will be a brand new imprint of IDW to be run out of the Portland office, and it's going to consist of a new line of comic books anchored by high-end, curated magazines featuring contributions by and conversations with the most talented and diverse creators in the industry. The primary focus will be comics, but it will also have a dash of general entertainment and culture features, film, TV, art, music, history, and more. God, should we sign up for this? Further details will be unveiled in the coming weeks as to this budding line and its continuing development. It sounds like it could be a whole new thing for IDW. The creative team that was on the Batgirl of Burnside has come back to comics with a new series called Motor Crush.
Motor Crush?
Yeah, it just came out this past week. These are the creators who made the DCU version of Batgirl. It's being done by Cameron Stewart, Brendan Fletcher, and Babs Tarr under Image Comics. According to Babstar, quote, "We had talked about Motor Crush for about 4 months into working on Batgirl together. I feel like it was around November and we'd started in July. The two of you came up to me and we were like, we have this idea for this thing after Batgirl. And I was like, okay." Unquote. Brendan Fletcher added, quote, "Our team was like this crack comics making unit. It just felt like it would be a shame to let it go because we wouldn't be working on Batgirl anymore. I should be clear that at the time, we were only given 6 issues of Batgirl. Cameron and I came in with ideas for multiple arcs, and we were told again and again, if we have ideas, put them in these issues because that's all you're going to get." Unquote. Babstar continued, quote, "Convergence was happening in 6 issues, so they had a break to introduce a new team if we were a flop, but that didn't happen." Unquote. So apparently Motor Crush was always part of the plan.
I'm looking at the cover for it, and it actually reminds me of the 2 motorcycle villains that she had to fight in the stuff we've read.
That was probably a lot of the influence for that use at the time. I'm trying to scan through here and see what this is about, but they spent a long time talking about just them working at DC Comics. Yeah, I can't find a straight intro as to what it's about, but the issue already came out, and it was getting high critical praise from most of the sites I follow.
I got a synopsis here.
Okay.
The team behind the critically acclaimed revamp of Batgirl returns for exciting it's a word mashup, but I'm not even sure how to pronounce it. It's like sci-fi with action mashed in there. Sci-fi action adventure, or maybe if we add hyphen, series.
Okay.
By day, Domino Swift competes for fame and fortune in a worldwide motorcycle racing league. By night, she cracks heads of rival gangs and brutal bike wars to gain possession of a rare, valuable contraband, an engine-boosting machine narcotic known as Crush.
Sounds like the basis of a video game.
Yeah.
Well, there's new details on Valiant's Exo War Manowar relaunch. Exo War Manowar. Okay, Exo Manowar.
Exo Manowar, there we go.
Yeah. It's supposed to be a year-long run made up of 3-issue arcs. This year-long saga is already mapped out by the publisher with story arc titles like Soldier, General, Emperor, and Visigoth. The artists that have been assigned are Thomas Giorello, Doug Braithwaite, Clayton Crane, Ryan Bodenheim, and Miko Swain. The one thing they won't have at the beginning of this new era is the Exo armor. Arik has begun a new life as a farmer on a faraway world. Exo Manowar #1 is due out March 22nd. Oh, Legendary, the movie studios?
Yeah.
They've partnered up with something we've already talked about, Line Webtoons. They're creating exclusive comics via Line Webtoon.
Huh.
The partnership kicks off this past week with a new series called Firebrand, The Initiation of Natalie Prisano. It's a supernatural series created by the Nerdist host Jessica Chobot and author Erica Lewis. It's following a willful witch called Natalie Prisano. Natalie will never fit into her father's perfectly human world, but politically ambitious, he turned his back on her just when she needed him most. Having lost her mother to tragedy as a young child, Natalie flees the safety of her home into the arms of her aunt Selena, the mysterious guardian of a magical order waging a centuries-old war for survival in the mountains of Spain. Natalie, now in her 20s, has followed in her aunt's footsteps, becoming a powerful but rebellious witch in her own right. Returning to Seattle, she finds herself caught between a cruel modern world and the ancient evil threatening to destroy it. The series' official launch is January 26, 2017. Sounds like that's going to be a movie. Last up is a little bit of IDW news. G.I. Joe is relaunching with a new lineup.
Okay.
This obviously is spinning out of the Revolution, which is creating an integrated Hasbro universe within IDW Comics.
Right.
The Commander is Scarlet.
All right.
The Field Commander is Roadblock. And the surviving members of this team are Machine Gunner Rock and Roll, Hand-to-Hand Expert Quick Kick, Team Medic Doc, and not the classic one. This is a young lady. And naval expert Shipwreck.
He's still alive.
Yes, and their newest member, and sometimes transport, Skywarp.
Ha!
I did not stutter. They have a Transformer in G.I. Joe now.
Okay.
Why apparently he's a little bit irritated that his ability to teleport has been taken away. And one of the Joe's first missions is to hunt down the technology that's been poached from him so he can do that again. From one page that was released, quote, "But now that you've plundered my body for your weapons, I want to be restored. I want to teleport again. Soon. Attention, vermin. I am Skywarp of the G.I. Joe International Peacekeeping Initiative. Drop your weapons and surrender immediately. I don't want to have to clean what's left of you off of my feet," unquote. Seekers have taken on a brand new role in these IDW comics. You know, there's Starscream, the Legislature, Skywarp, the G.I. Joe member, and Thundercracker, the occasional TV playwright.
Is that what he's become?
Yeah, he loves TV. He writes scripts in his spare time. He has a dog.
I know he has a dog. I didn't realize he wrote screenplays.
Oh, yeah.
I think he's actually the most dangerous one of the three. Huh.
Why? You give him a bad review? And last up is our WTF Corner. That's where we talk about those stories from across the internet that just make you say, so that's why you voted for him, huh? First up is video game videos. Incredible plays, unbelievable falls, and the kinds of things that just make you wish that certain games were not exclusives to consoles or PCs. And the first video is a Final Fantasy 15 video.
Okay.
All I can say is there must have been an ecological disaster. This was put on the channel of user S. Varela, S space Varela. She titled her video, "Where's all the water?"
Okay.
I sent the video.
Oh,
That's a very elegant place, sir.
This place.
Yeah.
You're walking down the pier. Water. That's a very nice desert. There's fish floating in midair, apparently, but there's no water in this ocean.
Magic in Final Fantasy.
Francis sitting there holding his head. What is going on?
Man.
Global warming is a pain in the ass, man. You can kind of see some...
Well, I can tell why there's no ship. They might have a problem getting it here.
Hey, you want to catch a sky bass?
Well, his special skill is fishing.
This is kind of intimidating, though. Those fish have mastered gravity. Perform a check. This is dry. This is really dry.
I feel so arid right now.
I hate sand.
And of course you do.
It's coarse and it gets into everything. That was just... It wasn't a big WTF, but when you're missing one item from a game, sometimes it causes really strange questions. The next video is a Titanfall 2 video. The game has been getting a lot of critical praise, and players seem to actually like it a lot. But there's not a lot of bugs in there, so often when it's a Titanfall video, you know somebody did something slick, right?
Is it going to top what we saw last week?
Well, it's not that slick, but it is pretty slick. The channel, I cannot recite the name, I kid you not, because it's entirely in Chinese, so you'll have to get the links to the video in the letter section of the story here, or of the podcast. The title of the video is pretty simple. He titled this video, "Come Here."
I
sent the video. You're playing a Ronin.
Ronin.
Yep, he just jumped.
Sword Core's online.
Titan level up. Ooh,
killed
just
somebody.
chopped down a poor pilot. Eject. Damn
Cloak.
sniper. Grapple hook. Get over here!
Oh!
Well-timed hook, man. Well-timed.
Are you sure that was well-timed?
I'm positive because he was staring in that window the whole time he came down. He wanted that guy.
You will be here.
He wanted him. And the next video is also a Titanfall 2 video. And this is kind of the opposite end of the scale, because this was not a smart play. This came from the channel of user Blue Namagem. First word blue, B-L-U-E. Second word N-A-M-A-G-E-M. The title of this video kind of gives away what the theme of it is. The title is, Teabagging is a Mistake.
Always is.
Wait till you find out why. I sent the video. Legion.
And, yep.
There's a pilot really after you. And your machine's taking critical damage. You're out of here. Eject. Nuclear. Nope, not nuclear, just heavy. Managed to kill a pilot. Good. Okay, run away, and you've been... Call your new Titan, and you've been gunned down. He decides to victory teabag, and Titan on your head!
Oh, yeah, there we go.
And here it is from the other guy's perspective.
Oh, it cuts out.
Yep. He deserved it, though.
He totally did.
The last video I have this week is a Battlefield 1 video. And this will be in the realm of a video we've seen before, but it's hard for me to give away the details. This came from the channel user Yolo Media. First word Y-O-L-O, second word M-E-D-I-A. The title of this video is, How to Deal with Snipers. It's good to have instructional work sometimes in this channel, but there it is. And I sent the video. There you are on a respawn screen. And you're in a plane. Gunner seat. There's a target down there. So, jump out. Parachute.
50 of our soldiers remain.
Watch that house. See the window?
Yeah.
Somebody's shooting from up there. You got a sniper in the window. So, how do you assault it? Well, the simple answer is you throw a detonation, back up a little bit, and blow them up. Bye! Teabag. I mean, there's always charge the gun and hope you survive, but then there's just throw a bomb on the bastard and blow him up. This is a video game WTF, but for a completely different reason. Are you guys familiar with Kevin Lee Coe?
No.
He's from our state in this country, and he's from Rockland, California, out there towards Sacramento. He's pled guilty to charges of wire fraud and money laundering, having been caught stealing $4.8 million from his employer over a 7-year span ending in 2015.
Huh.
He used to work in the accounting department of Holt of California before being found out, and he spent most of the money on furniture, cars, and NBA season tickets, according to the California DA. But of that $4.8 million, he spent some of it rather stupidly.
Oh?
He spent approximately $1 million on Game of War.
The mobile game?
The mobile game, the Clash of Clans clone. He spent $1 million. Just imagine that. You've stolen over almost $5 million from where you work, and you spend a fifth of that on a crappy mobile game. How little imagination do you have? Well, this past Thursday...
We're smart enough to get this money, but dumb enough to pay for all this shit? Oh, God.
Yeah, this past Thursday, he pled guilty. In March of 2017, he's going to be sentenced. The maximum penalty for what he's done is 20 years in prison and a $250,000 fine. But he also did some money laundering, which carries a similar maximum penalty of 20 years in prison and a fine of $500,000. Although, because he pled guilty, he probably won't serve anywhere near that amount of time.
He's not going to get a job when he gets out.
No, but you could argue that he played Game of War for about 7 years, so he could be let off with time served. That is cruel and unusual, after all.
Now it's voluntary.
But this week in WTF, I also have one of the most metal things you will ever see.
Okay.
Darth Vader with an electric guitar. Have you ever heard of Galactic Empire?
No.
No.
They are a heavy metal band inspired by and themed by Star Wars. I do not mean they're an official licensed band. They have nothing to do with LucasArts, Disney, or the Star Wars franchise. But they do appear on stage in various Imperial costumes, and Boba Fett is your drummer. They are releasing their first full-length album in February. And to celebrate, they've released a YouTube video of their first single, Darth Vader's theme. You want to hear what this sounds like?
Sure.
Okay. Get ready for the Galactic Empire Strikes Back. I sent the video. And it starts early.
Wow.
And Jedi pull the guitar. Here we go. I wonder if it's hard for the drummer in that Boba Fett getup, man, because he's wearing full armor there.
I'm trying to figure out how hard it is to play the guitars with those gloves on.
I don't know. He's probably using the Force. Emperor Palpatine. Okay.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that this is all just kind of a gimmicked play and whatnot. You know, they recorded it outside of the armor and they're just playing it over this music video.
I don't know what they appear as on stage, though. Because as much as I imagine they're pleased with their first album, I can't imagine the mouse would allow them to do this on stage in front of people. You know?
Yeah.
Wow. Their version of Chewbacca looks like he hasn't shaved in a while. No, not Tag and Bank. Leave him alone.
I think they can do it.
I don't know.
Actually do it in costume.
I don't know. I'm going to end that there for myself because I get the gist of it. But there's a difference between a lot of the fan groups who don't actively pull down profits from this and then this kind of act. So I don't know what area they're hitting here, and the fact that they're making a full-length album now may put them into some uncomfortable territory copyright-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say for certain. Jesse, you're Korean, or at least as Korean as we get.
Half. Why is that important?
What do Koreans think of Jesus?
I don't know. I think Korea mostly is Buddhist in religion, but... Oh, shoot. You found that article.
I didn't find much of an article. I just kind of found an image that requires an explanation to me, because it's an image of Jesus on a crucifix. I don't know where it came from, because there's no location on the article, but according to the people who sculpted this, Jesus was on some serious weight gain powder. Take a look at this, because Jesus looks a lot like Triple H here. You know, and I don't even mean that he was lean on that cross. I mean, he had like an 8-pack of abs there. And another like 24 abs on the outside of that.
Yeah, it pretty much looks like he shouldn't be nailed to that. If he wanted to get free, he just had to flex.
It looks like he nailed himself to it, frankly. I think this is where you're supposed to push over the columns and the whole thing... No, that's the wrong legend. Okay.
Yeah.
I think this is where you cut his hair and he loses all of his strength. No, if you cut his hair, it looks like he had just enough. Okay. I think this is where he challenged The Rock for the heavyweight title. There, I think I got it.
That would make one hell of an entrance. Have a bunch of people carrying him down on the cross.
Comes down the ramp to Jesus
just
Christ
rips
Superstar.
Himself off and starts kicking people's ass. There you go.
Co-starring Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is somebody who really believes in the power of religion, literally.
I really would actually want to show this to my mother and see what she says about it. I don't think she has a clue.
She says she'll see him at War Games. There's a new hotline that's being released called Callvention. Have you guys heard about this?
No.
There's a reason why I put it in WTF. If you ever wanted to talk to some of your favorite game developers on the phone, Callvention will give you a direct line to your favorite game creators. Sounds awesome, doesn't it?
Yeah, but...
But if you wanted to speak to former Rockstar employee Matt Durgovich, you could be charged $3.38 a minute. Per minute.
Wow.
No, that's not WoW. The WoW is the fact that when you make a call to a developer and you're connected, you're billed for a 15-minute minimum.
Huh.
You know, as much as it would be interesting to talk to some of these people, are you freaking kidding me? Founder of Callvention, Brian Cashman, said in a recent email, quote, "We expect calls to be 15 to 30 minutes, so a call is about the price of taking someone out to dinner to pick their brain," unquote. Or, if you do math, approximately $50 every 15 minutes or $200 per frickin' hour. Jeez. So, if you decide to use this route, congratulations, I applaud your success. And you better have a frickin' stopwatch.
Yeah.
Surprisingly enough, or not surprisingly enough, when it comes to creators who have signed up for Callvention, no female game creators have signed up. No women. Probably because they don't want to make it any easier for gamer-gators to get in touch with them.
Mm-hmm.
And Nissan confuses me greatly. Do you know who Nissan is?
No.
Nissan?
They have No, Nissan. Nissin. They are the creators of college staple Cup of Noodles.
Oh!
Square Enix has partnered with Nissan in a collaborative event with Nissan. And they've done an interesting ad campaign with Final Fantasy 15 characters where you can win, where 150 ramen lovers have a chance to win 15 cups of Ninstant instant ramen. You have until December 26th to sign up. There's a commercial associated with it.
Do we want to?
I haven't, but I admit to morbid curiosity.
Me too.
I sent the video. Okay, Squeenix, sell me noodles. That's a lot of Final Fantasy 15 footage. Here's the Nissan version, I guess. Oh my god, what's that teapot? Dude, they've inserted Cup of Noodles everywhere.
Well, the sad thing is that they actually have wow, with the helmet. They actually have a Cup Noodles ad on one of the billboards when I was running through the game, just naturally in there.
Okay, just seeing Leviathan stir a cup noodle with his tail was really disturbing. I don't even want to know what the crunchy bits in that are like. There was a story this past November that I couldn't let go of, and I saved it specifically for our show, because there is a guy who won a race in an interesting fashion. It was the FIA GT World Cup this past week, or a couple weeks ago, and Lorenz Vantur, he clipped the inside curve at the Mandarin Bend in Macau at 155 miles per hour, sent him out of control, into the wall, into the other side of the track, and he ended up on the roof of his vehicle. Which triggered a red flag to stop the race.
Yeah.
Because of he was in first when they triggered the red flag, and they determined that the crash was close enough to the end that they would allow the current standings to determine the end of the race, which means while this man was on his roof, he won the race!
Okay.
Van Thor described the experience in motorsport.com. He said, quote, "Physically, I'm okay. It is fine. It is just one of the nastiest corners to do a crash. To do half the straight upside down and see the other cars coming is something not really describable. It was a very scary memory in my mind, but besides that, physically, I'm okay." Unquote. He went on to say, quote, "I don't really know if I deserved it in a way, as I crashed and made a mistake and I am still a winner, which is very awkward. But I don't really know what to say. It would have been a better show for everybody without the crash and a better victory, but I don't know what to think about it," unquote.
At least he's honest.
Yeah, thank goodness there's YouTube. You want to see what it looks like when you crash your way to victory?
Sure, we always like a good car wreck.
Oh, you're talking to one. But I sent the video. Okay, so this is second place in camera we see here, so there's a leader. in the black and red.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so he was overtaken. There he clips. Oh, he rose up, and he's on the roof. He is sliding upside down the straightaway. Dude. But because they go by the results from the prior turn where he was still in the lead, and they red flagged the race, this is how Vanthor won.
Oh,
wow. At the point they would have stopped the race officially, he was still in first.
Wow.
Yeah.
Let's hold our breath, folks, that he's okay.
And I'm sure at this point he's not thinking, thank God I won. He's probably thinking,
thank God I lived.
Yeah, I believe my anus and my forehead have switched positions.
And look at that.
Oh, he climbs out.
Look at him walking sideways, though. That's a man that's just going, God, that was nearly my skull.
A brilliant overtake by Bamba. Vantor then gets behind Bamba.
And it looks like he just accidentally took this turn a little while. Oh, no, he clipped the inner wall, then he hit the outer wall.
Slammed into that one.
And then because of the flat panel underneath the car, the wind got underneath it and flipped. And then he does his best Iceman impersonation.
I think he's missing the eyes.
What a moment. Amazing by angle to avoid.
That's just horrible, man.
And likewise Renger van der Zand.
And right now there is a river of urine flowing into the ceiling of his car. That's an impressive visual, I'll say that. We're running a little short on time, so would you like 10 of our favorite out-of-context D&D quotes?
Sure.
Okay. These come from outofcontextdnd.tumblr.com, where you take single quotes from D&D games, and they often turn out to be hilarious when you don't know what the frick is going on. The first quote apparently was given a little bit of context, because this is a dungeon master who is watching someone attempt for the 5th straight time to punch a wall.
Okay.
The wall now rolls to attack. Oh, wait, it can't because it's a fucking wall! The next quote has no context whatsoever, but it sounds like so many games I've played. I stole a cloak. I cut a guy in half. I ate ham. What?
I don't even know. That
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm trying to piece the next quote into my mind. The quote is, "A perfect fourth sneaks up on you. Roll for initiative."
A perfect fourth?
I have
A perfect
no idea.
fourth. Apparently, the game was being run by a band director, and he was trying to incorporate jazz into D&D.
Okay.
A perfect fourth. Rhythm. Rhythm, fools. He's talking about the meter of a song.
Gotcha.
So, oh wow. Somebody asked a Games Master, quote, "Should we do a save to see if we get cooties?"
How old are you?
Not as old as the next person. Can you please take your foot off of my face once you're done healing me? I get the feeling this next one, it was given a little bit of context, and this had to be close to the end of the session because people were losing patience. Apparently, a player was repeatedly clanging a cowbell as loud as humanly possible, yelling, "Is this enough knowledge for you?"
Oh, God.
Something tells me you need to take a break, like right now. The next quote was from a 5'5" wood elf monk sorcerer as she cracks her knuckles, proclaiming very vehemently, "They're not taking my meat."
Uh-huh.
I wonder if this quote was related to one a couple quotes ago. It says, "Holy shit, I've heard of you. You're the cowbell man." The next quote is almost self-explanatory, but it does create an image in my mind. "Thank you, Luchador Shack."
Oh, God.
And I'm going to guess that the last quote, which has no context, was probably a dungeon master trying to explain something very simple to another person who was just not getting it. Understandably girthy does not equal Rubik's Cube.
I don't even get the comparison, really.
Somebody thought understandably girthy meant something the approximate size of a Rubik's Cube. It seems pretty self-evident to me.
Okay.
That was somebody who didn't understand spatial, spatial comparisons. The subject of this week is the subject of this week is the film Doctor Strange by Marvel Studios. Came out November of 2016. It is the first film starring a non-superhero character, technically, in the Marvel Universe. Because unlike the others, he didn't have any specialized training going in, nor is his role necessarily fist-to-face, as they are with a lot of superhero films. And neither was the solution of the film.
No.
Doctor Strange was a former neurosurgeon who was in an incredible accident. His hands were shattered, and as he sought ways to repair his hands, he found the ways of sorcery instead, and has found a new role within the world, more or less.
Mm.
And I will start out by saying that the star of the movie, Benedict Cumberbatch, he exceeded certain amounts of expectations I had for him. I won't say... Yeah, I won't say exceeded all of them, but it was actually more than I thought I would get out of him for, at least as far as my enjoyment in the film. He played the role kind of arrogantly, but that's always the way Doctor Strange has come off to me in comic books. Anybody have anything to add in regards to him?
I couldn't help but feel I was watching House every time he talked.
Is that just what you see every time British people are playing American accent on TV, or
no? Every time a British person fakes an American accent.
So you expect to see House at Spider-Man: Homecoming?
Maybe, I don't know.
Because I get the feeling that you don't understand how many Brits are actually in American TVs and movies right now.
That was the first thing that came to my mind as soon as I heard him talk.
Okay. Anything else?
For Benedict Cumberbatch?
Yes.
He did a fine job.
Okay, how about Chiwetel Ejiofor?
Huh?
Chiwetel Ejiofor.
The guy that played Mordo?
Yes.
I kind of liked his depiction of Mordo. I'm not really familiar with the comics. I just know that he is a strange villain more often than not. But,
well, Baron Mordo in the comics, number one, he's a white dude. So obviously that'll change. But Baron Mordo is one of those 1960s, 1970s productions of comic book villains. He did things generally for the role of evil rather than any real central notion that I'm aware of. And he was often slave to things like Mordo and Mephisto as sources of power so he could try to overcome Doctor Strange. This version of Mordo didn't have any connections to any of that. As a matter of fact, he seems more interested in just the order of things than anything else.
Right. Well, and there's also... I mean, wasn't he originally in line to become the next Sorcerer Supreme in the comics, and so he was actually jealous of Strange for getting picked by the Ancient One?
He was in consideration, but there is no direct line. Once I believe before a Sorcerer Supreme dies, they have the ability to astral project and name their successors.
Okay.
But it's more of a nebulous type item. It's not like there's a direct, I am going to be the next Sorcerer Supreme. But, there wasn't a whole lot of Mordo in this film. Ejiofor did all right, from what I remember. I was actually more impressed because it seemed like in the post-credit scene, they set him up to be a major villain who has a more than I want to see my family again kind of role.
Mm.
And that was the one thing that really bothered me throughout this movie. Mads Mikkelsen, for what he was given, he did a pretty good job, but he wasn't given anything, really. His role as Caecilius... It didn't matter what you named that character because in the long run, they weren't worth anything.
Yeah, I mean, he was a plot point, not the villain.
He actually kind of reminded me of the Sword Art Online Abridged parody. We must rescue my family! Because Because that's about all he was about. That's all he ever mentioned.
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams is Christine Palmer, the somewhat love interest or former love interest of Doctor Strange, I guess, in this story.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get why people are actually down on her performance.
Yeah, I really didn't.
Well, I was going to say that people are saying that the role that Rachel McAdams played was the damsel. You know, she was just there to get saved. Yeah. Yeah, even though she had nothing to do with the actual battle scenes that were happening in the film. And she saved at least 2 lives over the course of the movie.
Yeah.
Damsel in the What movie did they see?
I don't know. She was the one who was trying to perform surgery on Doctor Strange while he fought astrally, and all this weird stuff was going around her that she couldn't see by herself.
Yeah, she played the role of the normal in a strange world, as it were.
Was that a pun?
Yes, it was.
You dick. You know, I just didn't see damsel of any of that. She had her own strength, and it's not like after she found out that Strange was okay that she followed him. She continued her frickin' life. If anything, out of most female characters in these Marvel films that haven't starred in any films, she was the most independent, really.
Mm.
You know, it's not even like Claire Temple in The Defenders. You know, the weirder things get, the more involved she gets. For Rachel McAdams' character of Christine Palmer, she saved a life and she's done. Her life moves on, you know? Benedict Wong, who was Wong in the films, which is... I wonder if he saw the irony in that. He was not like the Wong in the comic books, and that was probably for the best.
Yeah.
Given the way people complained about Tilda Swinton as the Ancient One, I wouldn't have wanted to see what they would have done if the Wong in the movie was the same as the manservant Doctor Strange has in the comic books. That would have turned out ugly. Wong was pretty stone-faced through most of his part, though.
Yeah, I actually really enjoyed that portrayal of Wong. It was amusing, if nothing else.
He did a good job. It was one of those cases where I guess I felt I didn't see enough of him in the film. He was definitely the stoic comic relief or the straight man to most of the things going on, but that was all he was for just about every appearance he made.
Mm.
Tilda Swinton, though, is the Ancient One. It surprised me. She was one of the things I enjoyed the most about this film.
Mm-hmm.
Her version of the Ancient Ones was like equal parts whimsy, nastiness, aloofness, and charisma. There was just something generally likable but not likable about her. It was almost like watching the human version of a cat.
Yeah. I mean, she was definitely the one in control.
Mm-hmm. That's most of the major cast in the film. I will say that the visuals of the magic, trippy.
Oh my gosh. I was
trippy.
cracking up because, they had the 2 end credit scenes, so I'm sitting there watching the credits, and, 4 different major special effects studios, including ILM, plus I believe another 2, just minor special effects studios involved in the credits.
Yeah, they must have killed some computers. That's all. Because they did some very intricate, layered effects, and I watched that in 3D. When I saw the 15-minute preview, I knew I had to see this film in 3D, and I was not disappointed.
Yeah, I wanted to, but I just didn't make it to the theaters.
It helps add an extra layer because they did something that I've been complaining that 3D films haven't done since Avatar. They spent more time putting you in a scene than just throwing stuff at your face. You actually felt like you were zooming through some very uncomfortable locales. The portrayal of the mirror dimension helped add an extra layer to what the Doctor's activities were. Also explained why they were doing all this reality warping stuff without actually being part of regular reality.
Mm-hmm.
Because I have a feeling if people were aware of what was going on around them, they would have been sick.
Yeah.
That was actually something that did grab me, was every time they went into the mirror dimension and started warping realities, kind of putting the world through a kaleidoscope almost. Mm-hmm. Even though they were very simple effects, more or less, they were so detailed and so numerous throughout that it was easy to lose track of where up and down was from where they were going.
Oh, yeah.
I think that was the idea.
I was totally experiencing vertigo in a lot of those things, which, considering my motion sickness problem, was probably a good thing I didn't see it in 3D.
Really?
Well,
I get vertigo too myself, but I didn't get that sensation watching that. I was just like, whoa.
That last scene where the Ancient One was fighting on that bizarre rotating platform with the hexagons of masonry floating behind them, there was a small part of me that's thinking, this is a trip. And then there's another part way deep inside my soul singing, simple and clean is the way that you're making me feel tonight. I was having Kingdom Hearts flashbacks.
Yeah.
But it was very cool. If you're looking for an action film, this is not necessarily it.
Not really.
It was integrated into parts of the film, but this is an example of a guy who has to think his way out of a scenario most of the time.
And got lucky a lot.
Yeah, fortunately he started playing with a bunch of stuff he technically shouldn't have had. Including the Eye of Agamotto.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be the time stone of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah, I figured that one out pretty quickly.
I actually didn't see it until they talked about it, but then I was just like, okay, yeah, no, I should have seen that, but okay.
I was, as soon as he picked it up and started using it, and I just saw that glowing green stone in the middle, I'm just like, there it is. Right there. Let me think. Their version of Dormammu in this film, that was intimidating.
Yes.
The comic book version, the fire coming out of the head and all this other stuff and the big purple and red robes, there's something appropriately comic book about that. But the visual version they put together with that undulating mass for a face and those huge purple eyes, frack. Let alone I'm staring at that in 3D, I'm just thinking, don't let that come close. Don't let that come close. Holy crap, it's coming closer.
And it keeps coming.
I know.
And over and over. It's like, God damn it.
Well, that, again, is an example of a guy who has to think his way out of a problem, not punch it. And it was also an incredible piece of self-sacrifice to think that if he doesn't agree to what you have to say, you're going to do this for frickin' eternity.
Yeah.
And remember it. Because you could tell by the fourth time he's getting tired of saying that.
Yeah.
It was a nice final battle that you didn't quite see coming.
Yeah. I was a little bit I'm not trying. I didn't really buy it at the first part of it because I was like, okay, this is, somebody with so much power, he's just killing him instantaneously. That's not really torture, which would be the way to get yourself out of that is, because he threatens him, you will feel pain. Oh, well, that's, an old friend of mine. But at the same time, yeah, I'm sure it hurt a lot, especially being impaled on those spikes and whatnot. But overall, I mean, it's just a really quick death. But then I was thinking about going...
His hands.
Okay. Well, no. I was thinking about it going, okay, Dormammu is a guy that probably hasn't had to hold back very often. So, dealing with somebody as small and as weak as Doctor Strange... I was like, okay, it actually kind of makes sense that he's just sitting there constantly one-shotting him and not really, torturing him so much because he's just too flimsy.
Yeah, at the beginning, he just thought this was something he needed to swat so he could move on with what he was doing. But once he became aware of what kind of temporal trap he was in, now he has time to think about what kind of minute tortures he could do. And this is the equivalent of a child playing with an ant.
Yeah, but he didn't.
He probably would have moved on to there if he didn't agree to the bargain. He had the power to pull apart his hands and his feet digit by digit and move up the bone structure.
Oh, well, this is entirely true, but I just, like I said, I was kind of going, okay, the reason why he didn't torture him is probably just because using his power on Strange was, kind of like, squishing an ant. You can't really torture an ant. It's too small.
Not until you're driven to.
Well, apparently some scientific studies have gotten them drunk, but I don't know if that's torture.
Well, they fall to the left when they're drunk.
Yes.
But, no, Dormammu was an intimidating villain. I don't know if we'll ever see him again, though, because there's still no definitive way to battle that as of yet.
No.
Unless
until
of course
they get the Infinity Gauntlet out.
Or unless that staff of the Living Tribunal that Mordo was carrying around lives up to its name.
Yeah, that's true.
Because I know a lot of movie fans wouldn't have understand why that is a pants-dropping statement or name for a device, but comic book fans know that's a big frickin' deal. You know, in comic book terms, the Living Tribunal can make the Infinity Gauntlet not work.
Yep.
So that's, if it's actually associated with that character, that's an incredible piece of weaponry. If he just borrowed the name, that's basically taking a Toyota and calling it a Porsche. So, and I don't know which is true. I did spot the scene during the sacking of the Hong Kong branch of the guilds. Sorry.
Uh-huh.
I did see the staff of one while they were gathering weapons. It was very definitively there. It's hard to mistake. The staff of one, the weapon of Sister Grimm.
Mm-hmm.
Nico Minoru. That was definitely there. So I'm guessing that we saw her mother in the middle of that scene. It'll be interesting to see if the Runaways actually ties into this film then.
Well, I just remembered, you actually showing that that teaser part of it, so that didn't really surprise me, but I didn't actually spot it in the movie. It just kind of flashed by too quickly.
I needed to pay attention, though, because as we've seen, what's in trailers can sometimes be cut out of films entirely.
Mm.
We've seen certain teasers where, just about every scene in the teaser wasn't used in the actual film. We've seen the Suicide Squad teasers that had a whole lot of Joker, but almost no Joker was in that movie. So,
true.
Trailers don't mean much. I was just kind of excited to actually see it there. However, it's again one of those things that unless you're deep into Marvel's comic book mythology, you probably have no idea what you're looking at. Let me see. I don't think we can actually get that much deeper into it because this is not a heavy action film.
No.
There is something else we can add to it, because who knew that one of the most interesting characters in the film wouldn't have a single line of dialogue?
Yes.
Yes.
Cape of levitation.
Yeah, the cape did kind of steal the show there.
Yeah, the cloak of levitation. When he was trying to reach for that axe and the cloak would not let him take a step forward and he was doing his
just doing the
sliding floor routine.
Yes, that was great.
Dude, stop embarrassing me in front of the monks.
I was always like, oh, there's the axe. Oh, wait, that doesn't look like the axe. And there's the whole.
I was actually more surprised that cloak could fight when it flew off his shoulders, wrapped around the head of that guy, and kept bashing it into the ground.
I think they may have overdid that part, but
that sounded painful. Forget the visual, that thudding sound. I'm thinking there's nothing between you and that hardwood but a simple strip of cloth that's trying to strangle you. That sucks. The end credit scene, there was two. There was one where Mordo is trying to destroy sorcerers now because they're going against the natural order of things, which he very much believes in, which might make him the best villain that Marvel has had for its movie since Loki, really.
Mm.
And then the other end credit scene where Doctor Strange promises to help Thor find Odin and Loki before they can destroy the world.
Well, no, he asked why Thor brought Loki along. That, to me, says the two of them are teamed up looking for Odin.
Yeah, but I'm pretty sure that Loki will not keep his word on that. That's just
but
not
I'm sitting there looking at it going, okay, how did Loki manage to lose Odin?
Who knows? Loki supplanted Odin at the end of Thor: A Dark World.
I know. So he was the last one to see him alive, as it were, so...
There's no guarantee he didn't just throw him into another gate he knew about. Loki seems to know about a number of dimensional breaches.
Yeah, I suppose. It just seems a little counterproductive to leave the guy that you're supplanting alive and not keep him captive somewhere.
Yeah, but that's kind of been Loki's story throughout his interactions with Odin in these films so far, is that even though he has the opportunity to utterly destroy him, he still seems to think of him as father, so instead he either locks him away or just supplants him, subverts his will, but he never seems to actually want to kill the old man.
Mm.
Then again, he could be looking at Odin thinking, oh my god, that's Anthony Hopkins, I can't touch him. I was going to say, though, the second end credit scene with Thor, there was one thing about it that really kind of bothered me.
Mm.
The gloves that Doctor Strange was wearing, I was surprised he wasn't, swinging a hockey stick with them. He had these huge orange gloves on.
I didn't even really notice.
No, I wasn't paying attention to that.
They were really big. They were bothering me. It looked like all he needed to do was throw them off and check somebody into the ice and start a fight, really.
Yeah, I don't know.
That was one part of the costume they built for him that I wasn't sold on, because they did a really good job of adapting Doctor Strange's classic, Steve Englehart, Frank Brunner robes for film. You know, they weren't near as garish as they are in the comic books. But obviously that was their compromise on those orange Kirby's spotted gloves he had. And that did not work for me.
Mm.
And that's always been one of the reasons I've had trouble reading Doctor Strange, was up until his role in the New Avengers, he did kind of dress like a Vegas stage magician.
Well,
big red coat,
considering
gold trim,
his
orange
origins
gloves.
and so forth, yeah, it's not really that surprising.
You never know how these things will be adapted, though. Sometimes they look very similar to their comic book counterparts. Sometimes they look too similar to their comic book counterparts, like the first official Captain America outfit in the Avengers. It looked a lot like the comic books, but that's not necessarily a good thing on film. And then there is, when you take major steps away from it, like Fox's X-Men films, and they look nothing like their counterparts. You know, the frickin' black leather with yellow trim. Wow. So, but overall, I will say that it's a good film. Doctor Strange is surprisingly one of the better films they put out, probably because it feels so different from all the others that they've done thus far.
Yeah, it was a special effects / comedy, I think.
It was a special effects powerhouse. I won't be too surprised if they actually win an award for all of it.
I would. Award shows typically do not like the superhero films, often because the people voting on them think that they're beneath them somehow. I mean, Avatar was nominated for a number of different awards in its year, and the only thing it won was for special effects.
Well, that is what we're talking about them.
Yeah.
Winning.
Yeah, but there's also been a couple period pieces that have come out late this year. And superhero films generally are nominated for a ton of things and win nothing. Sci-fi occasionally wins for special effects, but superhero films don't win for much of anything important.
Hmm.
You know, again, there's a number of people who vote on these awards who just don't like the idea of them. They're probably still thinking of comic books as that thing that kids just generally buy and read when they're too stupid to read War and Peace. Is what it is. Anything else you want to add? If you're shaking your head, that doesn't help me.
No, I'm still thinking.
Yeah, I think that kind of sums up my experiences with it.
All right. Well, we have a choice of what to do next week. We can either read Tom King's Batman, or we can talk about Westworld, and it's the last show we're going to do for 2016.
Considering I haven't watched really a single episode of Westworld, Batman sounds like a good one.
Yeah, Batman.
Okay. I'll track down the first arc and get it ready for us. Thank you for tuning in. We invite you to roll with us again next week. We're going to get into Tom King's Batman from DC's Rebirth. Thank you very much. Have a great one. I am Jeremy.
Steve.
And Jesse.
Have a great one. Don't jerk and drive.